It's the moment you guys have all been waiting for. It is a TB3 podcast, episode 15. Can you believe it? We are at 15. There is so much stuff to go over, and we are excited to get to it. For the most part.
This episode feels kind of somber.
It might be somber in some parts of it, but there's nothing better than talking about Tampa Bay
There's
sports.
one team that's going to be pretty fun to talk about this week.
Yeah, there's going to be one
you
team.
know who they are.
Yeah, we'll get to them probably way at the end.
Saving
the best for last.
If you guys were worried about my ability to come here because you thought I might be dead, I have great news for you guys. I did not die this weekend, but I was pretty darn close.
A part of them died.
Dear Lord, that was one of the worst weekends of sports I've ever watched in my life. It was agonizing. It was painful. It was sad. So that's how we're coming. We are sad right now, and it might not get better soon for these teams. Honestly, like especially my Gators, it's not. I don't think it's getting better soon.
For the Gators, it's not getting better, but for the other team,
maybe.
Yeah, Saturday was pretty good for me. I don't know. I don't know about you.
I'm talking the other team. The other team.
Even you guys had a rough one on Saturday. You're just playing the Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, hey, we came out to win. There's nothing much more to say other than that.
Shout out. All right, I got two things to shout out. Shout out the Orlando Magic for beating the Lakers on Saturday. That was the bright spot of my day. Also, the Lightning beating the Senators. We'll get to that. Shout out that, and then also shout out college basketball. We are recording this on the opening day for college basketball. And while you guys might be saying, who cares about college basketball until March? I say, watch college basketball. We might not cover it in depth, but college basketball regular season is incredibly underrated, and this is your sign and your call to watch some regular season college basketball. And, of course, you got to watch March Madness.
And then when people are like, you're just a loser, all you watch is March Madness, you're like, actually, I watched 3 games during the regular season.
Yeah, and you know what?
It works.
Go root for your Bulls basketball teams, the USF in the Sun Dome. I bet you those tickets are dirt cheap.
It's the Yuengling Center now.
I'll still call it the Sun Dome forever.
No one's calling it Yuengling Center.
Yeah, you have to call it the Sun Dome. As a kid going to Busch Gardens or Mosey, and you see that glistening roof, you know exactly where it was. So.
All right.
Wait, hey, guys, remember last week when we reported to you that the Lightning lost in overtime while we were recording the show? Well, let's see what happened this week.
Want to see me do it again? The Lightning this week, because they lost again in overtime.
I kind of thought you were about to tell me
they lost again in overtime to the Toronto Maple Leafs, blowing a 3-goal lead. Oh, man.
And
that's sad.
This was the starting goaltender, too, like the main goaltender. So
I think Jonas had played in the last Leafs game, but there was one game.
I don't know if we're getting into it yet. But
that's a hard.
The Columbus game, it was technically the backup goaltender.
Yeah, okay, I got you. That was a hard, man. I hate it. Hate it so much. That's why we have a losing record all the time against the Leafs.
The Lightning right now are the reverse Seminoles.
I am never going to do a Lightning Insider again. I did that. I came up with this stat. Very meaningless because it's 2 different seasons. And now it seems like they're cursed. It seems like I've cursed the Lightning in overtime.
We're reverse cursing them, I swear.
It's all right. 1 point at a time.
I don't know. Since I brought that up, they've lost every overtime game, and it hasn't gotten better.
Since you brought that up, before you brought that up, they lost every overtime. So I don't think it's us problem cursing them.
That's the beauty of hockey, though. That's 1 point on the board. We're moving forward.
Yeah, we are doing pretty good point-wise, but we have to take it back to more pain because that's all we feel now, because we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what was their Sunday afternoon game against the Houston Texans.
Once upon a time, we saved the best for last, and it was the Bucs. But now we just have to get the worst out first.
Yeah, get the depression out of the way so you can get excited for the rest of the episode.
I'm going to be happy at all this episode. Like, I don't think there's no silver lining.
Once we get talking about college football, it turns everybody's...
Dude, I had to write notes about the Gator game, and I was so mad.
Come on, man.
Wait. I'm not talking about the Bulls. Didn't even win either.
Were the Lightning 1 and 2?
Yeah, that's a they beat the Senators. Yay!
I mean, I guess I was gonna say
on the road.
Hey, they got their revenge. At least they can beat one Canadian team. All right, let's go.
Well, unfortunately, I have to do this, but I'm gonna take y'all back to Houston, Texas, on Sunday afternoon, where the Buccaneers would face the Houston Texans in NRG Stadium. Mike Evans returning home for the first time in his career, And Baker Mayfield, also a Texas native, rocking a cowboy hat, looking dashing as ever. But a game had to be played, and the Bucs needed a win after dropping 3 straight. Could they get it done? The Texans would get the ball to start the game. They would go 3 plays, and Levante David, Father Time, would knock the ball out, and the Bucs get an early turnover and have the ball in Texans territory. What could they do with it? Unfortunately, not much. The Buccaneers would have to settle for a field goal, but they do have a lead. It's 3-0 very early. The Texans, however, would march down the field 7 plays and 75 yards and score a touchdown of their own. It was from C.J. Stroud, the rookie from Ohio State, passing it to Nico Collins. It's 7-3. The Bucs, so there's no quit in this team. They would get a drive of their own. 13 plays, 75 yards down the field. Baker Mayfield would pass the Cade Otton, caught ball, touchdown Tampa Bay. And they would be up 10-7. Couple punts out of the way. The Bucs, they want to add some more points before the end of the first half. They would do that. They would go 6 plays and 40 yards down the field, and Rachaad White right up the gut for another touchdown. The Bucs are up 17-7, and it's looking good. The Texans, though, would get a couple points late in the end of the first half. They would kick a field goal. It's 17-10 going into the half. The Bucs, they would get the ball to start the third quarter and would march down the field and kick a field goal. Tampa Bay Nation is feeling good. The lead is now 20-10. But then you just couldn't stop C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. They would march down the field, and they would score a touchdown of their own. They don't have a kicker. Kai Fairbairn goes down. They go for 2 and don't get it. So the Bucs have a 4-point lead, and the Houston Texans would need a touchdown to take the lead. The Bucs, though, they aren't going away. They answer the bell themselves, but it's only a field goal. It's now a 1-touchdown game. Tampa Bay is up 23-16. But Houston would fire right back. Another drive. It is now 23-22. Tampa, could they maintain the lead? No, they would punt it, give it right back to the Houston Texans, and they would score a touchdown, and now they're up 30-23. It's starting to get panic. It's starting to have some panic on the sideline for the Buccaneers, but they would be driven down the field by Baker Mayfield. He's calm, cool, and collected, and he would march them down the field for 75 yards in 6 plays and hand it off to Rachaad White again, and he would score. The game is tied. The Texans would march right down the field again, however, but this time the Bucs get a stop. Will the Texans go for it on 4th down? No. They have a running back. A running back kick a field goal, and he would get it, and the Texans are up 33-30. The Bucs couldn't answer the bell. They would have to punt, but they would force the Texans to punt the ball right back. And then 3 minutes left in the game. The Bucs need to score. They could tie with a field goal, but they're looking for a touchdown, and they would do exactly that. Baker Mayfield, with 49 seconds left, game on the line, throws a beautiful pass to none other than Cade Otton for a touchdown, and the Bucs are up 37-33 with only 40 seconds left. They got to get a stop. Can they do it? No. C.J. Stroud drives down the field, completion after completion. Bucs can't cover anybody, and with 6 seconds left, he throws to Tank Dell for 15 yards. It's a touchdown. Houston is up 39-37. The Bucs have 6 seconds. We saw them get a Hail Mary last week. Could they do anything this time? They would go for the old pass the ball around the yard and see if you can get loose and make somebody miss, but they would fumble the ball out of bounds, and that would be the game. The Bucs lose 39-37 in a shootout thriller, and this might be one of the most upsetting and demoralizing losses the Bucs have seen in quite some time.
It hurt because going into it, we heard about all the Texans' injuries, and we're like, if we ever had a chance to win, it might be this week versus the Texans, and to come that close, it's like, oh.
You know, we got to win this football game, man. There's no other way to put it. It should have been a win. There's so many times the Bucs could have just taken control of the game, and they didn't. The defense was Charmin ultra soft on Sunday, in the secondary especially. And I'm going to say this, guys. This is the game that fully cements the fact that Mike Evans is going to be a Houston Texan next year. Because he's from Houston. They're looking for a wide receiver one. They got money. They got all these young players. Mike Evans is going to be a Texan, and we're going to remember the crazy game that C.J. Stroud had to fully bring him into the Houston Texan organization.
Could you imagine if we had traded him to the Texans before the trade deadline, and then we went to go play him?
It would have been crazy. Would have been sad, but he's still there. We're still going to enjoy his last months, and maybe he'll re-sign. I'm not saying, but it makes a lot of sense that he would go to Houston, especially in the twilight of his career, but with still something to give. And Houston looks dangerous. C.J. Stroud, honestly, I was pretty anti C.J. Stroud. I was pretty on the Bryce Young bandwagon during the draft, but C.J. Stroud's been the better quarterback. He's been really good. He made some great throws, so good for him. He had a great game, but when you look at the way the Bucs covered in this game, it was absolutely unacceptable.
Oh, it was by far atrocious, and I'll get to the grades in a little bit here from the defensive backs because Bucs Nation, if you're listening right now, it was not pretty to say the least. And not only the secondary, but every player on that defense should take a good look in the mirror because in no circumstance, no chance in heck should you let a rookie quarterback throw for 470 yards.
That's a record, by the way.
And throw 5 touchdowns. That's unacceptable.
Yep.
That is unacceptable. And every player on the defense should be held accountable.
And they're doing this without a run game. The Bucs were actually pretty dominant up front. They were wreaking havoc. This was a really good game for Kalijah Kancey. This seemed like one of his breakout games. Devin White had his best game in a while. Levante David was all over the place. And you knew they were pinned back passing, and you still couldn't stop it. It's ridiculous. It's not just one person. I know we're going to look at Zion McCollum, we're going to look at Carlton Davis, and we're going to be like, you guys are the corners. You should cover. But this is everyone in that secondary. This is every linebacker that played coverage. Ryan Neal, Dede Delaney, did not matter who was in there. It was bad. Levante David, he had a good game, but he missed. I think one of the most game-changing plays was a 3rd and 14 or 3rd and long conversion where Dalton Schultz got the ball in the middle of the field and Levante David missed a tackle on him, and they converted, and then they scored a touchdown a couple plays later. The Bucs were up by 10. If they had got a stop, they could have iced this game away, but instead, a man who should be making that tackle sure-handedly did not make that tackle. So it's not on one person. This is a total team catastrophe from the Bucs on defense.
It was just, I'll be honest, I smelled it in the third quarter, and I turned it off to do yard work, so I'm not the fan who should be sitting here telling you about the game, but, I don't want to say I've given up on the Bucs, but I gave up on the Bucs.
It's a demoralizing loss. There's no two ways about it. Let's hear some of these grades for these defensive players. So
the running game was pretty good, though, right?
We'll get to offense in a second because we have
offense
to.
Was
really,
a bright part of the game.
It was. I think we should.
Noticed that.
I think we should say that we should end on a positive note.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's your defensive back grades. This is from Pro Football Focus. Grading is just like a test you did in school, 0 to 100. Zion McCollum, 30%. Carlton Davis, 30.2%.
Oh, my gosh.
Ryan Neal, 32.5%. So that really sums it up right there.
Oh my
gosh.
Goodness. That's
a failing grade.
That's not just a failing grade.
That's like you gotta go to the principal's office
because
there's something wrong with
that's
you.
That's like you literally didn't do the homework at all and you just did the first 3 questions right before the teacher picked it up to get any credit. That's what a 30 is. 30 out of 100.
And you know where I stand on the coaching staff and the way this team's run. They probably didn't really look at much film this week. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know about that, but it is. They
They might not have done their homework.
They looked lost. Carlton Davis is someone who he got paid last offseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got extended to be the number one corner. We've seen him do it games in the past, but this one, I think if you're gonna put blame on one person's shoulders, you have to put on him. Zion McCollum did not play good. We just heard his grade, but he's a backup cornerback. He's filling in. You can hide him if you have coverage on the other side of the field. But Carlton Davis was getting cooked all day long. These aren't huge plays. He gave up the game-winning touchdown. He gave up the 4th down touchdown in the red zone. These are huge plays, and you have to be better than that. You just have to be better than that. It's terrible.
Yeah, in total, he gave up 3 touchdowns on the day, and I wanted to get some advanced stats for you guys. I'm sorry you don't have it, but I assume the amount of times he was targeted and the receptions on him in yards are probably atrocious. And I'm kind of glad it's not there because I don't even want to look at it.
And this is a guy who held Justin Jefferson catchless in the second half of the Vikings game with a fully healthy Jefferson, fully healthy Kirk Cousins. Everyone was healthy, and he held one of, if not the best receiver in football catchless in a whole half. And you fast forward, and none of these Texans receivers are scrubs or anything, but they're not that caliber. And I just don't understand what it was. It could be a lack of preparation because we know he has the talent. Or it could be lack of preparation. I don't know because it doesn't add up to me. That's my thing. It just doesn't add up for me.
Yeah, it really doesn't add up because there was a lot of man played in that game, and you could see it. That's where Zion McCollum was exposed the most, was in man coverage. And Carlton Davis, the same thing. But some of the plays he made were inexcusable. I think, number one, you look at the game-winning touchdown. Look, there was 6 seconds left in that game. And how do you let probably their biggest threat in Tank Dell, he's only a rookie out of Houston, actually, so he got to stay home when he got drafted. But how do you let their biggest threat get behind you as a cornerback? That's not on the coaching now. That's fundamentals from day one of Pee Wee football. You don't let a man get behind you.
But, okay, I agree. Bad playing. But should we have been letting Carlton Davis play man coverage on the biggest play of the game, knowing what he's done the whole game? I'm just saying.
Who else are you going to put on him? You lose Jamel Dean.
They
got nobody left.
They got nobody left. No, I'm not saying they're not working with much in the secondary. I agree, but I think they should have played like some type of zone in that play. Playing straight up man-to-man was not the wisest decision. Can you agree on that?
Yeah, I think they were playing zone. That's a thing, but you can't let somebody get behind you on a play. It's the last play of the game.
Well, if he's playing zone, that's even worse.
Yeah, can't let. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Todd Bowles said they were playing a cover 2 zone on that last drive the entire time.
How do you let him get to the corner
exactly.
then? That's
you can't
horrible.
That's another thing. We'll get to Zion McCollum. But another thing, one adjustment I saw in the game, their tight end Dalton Schultz was torching them a lot. Not really in the fact that he was outrunning the cornerbacks or linebackers, that he was just getting open. Whatever scheme the Texans were running, he was getting open in the first half.
The soft spot.
And then, you see the adjustment, you put Carlton Davis on him, and by no means should a defensive back lose a battle to a tight end, and you see Carlton Davis give up a touchdown to him.
It wasn't like a jump ball. He got open. He got open on an out
just
route.
Completely burned him on an out route, and that just can't happen. And I think a lot of times we see in the NFL, the best way to stop tight ends, because they took away the rule where you can't really chip them off the line of scrimmage, you can shut down some of these stars like Kelsey and even Gronk if you were to put a safety or corner on them. And the Bucs do exactly that, and Carlton, you still give up a touchdown. What more can you do? And I hate talking bad about these players because Carlton Davis has played well for how many years now?
Yeah, a couple.
But it's just, like you said, it's just baffling how bad he played. You can have a bad game, but this was just inexcusable.
It was
inexcusable.
It was tragic. I don't know. It was a tragic game to watch. It was tragic for the Bucs because they're by no means should they be 3-5 right now. Their offense played well enough to win them that game. Baker put his nuts on the table, won the game from not once, twice, 2 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter. And they continued to just let them go back and answer. And we'll get to this in a minute. The clock management, I think, was poor. However, at the end of the day, we're not talking the Texans kicked the game-winning field goal. They went, I think it was a touchback. They went they had a return. They went 70 yards or so.
I can look it up.
I think it was 71 or 70 in 49 or 6 seconds. I think it was 46.
They went from their 25 to the touchdown.
So 75 yards in 46 seconds. That's okay. A field goal, we've seen the Chiefs get a field goal in 17 seconds. That's different. That's a couple plays to get in the field goal range. You let them drive the whole field in 46 seconds, and they only had 1 timeout or 2 timeouts. They didn't have all 3.
And they burned them quick.
They
burned them very quick, like back to back, and that shows an experience on the coaching from D'Amico Ryans. I mean, he burned those timeouts quick, and then all you got to do is keep them in bounds at that point because they would just run out of time automatically.
The play before,
I think
the play to set up the touchdown was pretty unexcusable defense too. You can't let someone get outside of you on the sideline. I know they were playing like a cover 2 sink defense, and I don't know who. I think it was Zion McCollum.
It was Zion McCollum. That's why I was going to bring him up.
Yeah, you have to take away that outside route over your shoulder. If someone completes a pass in front of you, we could deal with 10 yards there, but we can't deal with 25. That just can't happen.
I know. This is what baffles me is, again, this isn't something like – this is what makes me mad a little bit where it's like you can be mad at Todd Bowles for other things, but it's like the little things like this where you cover the guys on the sidelines, you don't let them get the sideline, you give up anything in the middle. That is day one stuff from Pee Wee football. That's not Todd Bowles making a mistake. That's Zion McCollum just playing without any discipline whatsoever, because you just don't let that happen. There's no circumstance where you let somebody get to the sideline in a 2-minute drill. You just don't let that happen. Yeah. And it just makes this so baffling, like how bad did these guys play? It makes no sense.
I agree. I think this is a very undisciplined secondary. We saw it in the Falcons game with Ryan Neal whiffing a tackle when the only thing you need to do is keep the dude in front. We've seen it. We saw it in that drive. It's undisciplined. And I get you want to let the guys play. You want to be aggressive, but you have to be smart aggressive. There's only one player in the secondary that does that. It's Antoine Winfield, and we know what type of player he is. And it's just it's dumb. You have to use your head just a little bit. I know things are moving a mile a minute. It's football. I've never played professional football. I know nowhere to tell these guys how to do their jobs. But that being said, when you see multiple people in a same position group, even Jamel Dean early in the season, everyone was being way over aggressive and stupid, and it just can't happen. It just can't happen, and you have to. Obviously, this is not all on Todd Bowles. It's not all on the players. I don't know who the secondary coach is. I don't have a name, but he has to get better because it's an undisciplined group, and something has to change.
When Tony Dungy was around, people would say that he was like their dad, like he was soft, but like they didn't want to disappoint him. So I just wish there was that kind of mentality right now for Todd Bowles. It's like they're coming in and out every week, and they're just being disappointing. It's like there's nothing changing. Like every week we're like, oh, we're going to fix that. Oh, don't worry, we're going to address that. And I know it's a broken record, but it's kind of the story of the team this year. It's just like every week it's like, what's going to go wrong this week? We have a pretty competitive team, but something's going to go wrong.
You have an underperforming team for sure.
Underperforming, that's the word.
Very much
underperforming
teams. I guess one thing the Bucs defense improved on is they held the Texans at 3 for 11 on third down. Maybe they're still last, I don't know, in the NFL, but that helped them. That says a lot about the pass rush and the linebackers. This we mentioned, but Devin White had a very good game. It was good to see that. 9 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for loss. We already know about Levante David. Nothing new there. Kalijah Cansey. Got to mention
Shout
again.
out Kalijah Cansey.
Very amazing game. A sack and 3 tackles for loss everywhere. This was his best game by far. It was great to see. Him and Vita Vea were a force to be reckoned with.
It was nice to have Vita Vea back.
Yeah, I think there's only been a couple games where we had both of them in the interior, so it's great to see that. But yeah, like we're saying, the Bucs only had one pass breakup the entire game from anyone on their roster. So that means if you're not breaking up passes, you're not even close to receivers, which we could see by watching the game. And also the Texans averaged 9.8 yards per pass, that's a first down. That's almost a first down every time you throw the ball. So that's insane. I think before we get to offense, because that really is a positive thing, and we can end on the positive note, I think we have to talk about Todd Bowles' clock management. I think he dropped the ball on not only before the half, but at the end of the game. So we can go. I'll go the first one. Not taking the 10-second runoff was stupid. There was the fumble thing, that thing. You got to take the 10-second runoff. You absolutely have to, because we're down. The Bucs are down 3 points. So at worst case, you want to be in a position where the clock is running out and you're kicking a game-tying field goal. And if you score the touchdown early, that's fine. But if you're down by a touchdown, I understand. You want all the time you can get to have as many plays to get in the end zone. I understand. But since you're only down 3, I know you want to score the touchdown to take the lead. I understand. But you have to take the 10-second runoff, because you know your defense hasn't been able to stop anyone. And you know that it just can't happen. And it's like poetry. It rhymes, like George Lucas says. Do you know how much time was on the play clock when the Texans ran their last play?
It's probably
10 seconds. 10 seconds on the dot. 10 seconds was so that by numbers and watching and stuff, that you could say that lost us a game. I know players got to execute stuff like that, but you have to take that runoff. That was dumb. And we were scared about it all game. This is the first time I think that it really reared its ugly head, Todd Bowles' clock management. But that was a brutal and terrible mistake.
I have to disagree, because, again, there was no guarantee you're going to score on the very next play. And Todd Bowles even said that. And, again, you're playing to win the game. You're not playing for a field goal. And we've seen how long it's taken them to score points. You look at the game last week against the Bills, it took them nearly 7 minutes to get down there, and they took the entire fourth quarter trying to get within a score. So there's no guarantee if you run off the clock and then something happens. Why I wouldn't risk that. It's easy to say that, and as a hindsight, it's always 20/20, because, again, they had 10 seconds. But at the end of the day, there was no guarantee they were going to score in the next play. You just can't.
But
you
they're
can't
almost
say
guaranteed
that.
to at least tie the game.
But they're playing for the win. They were going to go for the touchdown.
But by leaving that much time, you lost the game by doing that. You lost the game. You need to play to make sure you do not lose the game in regulation in that situation.
No, you play to win.
No,
Playing to not lose a game is going to cost you. That's how you lose your job.
But if we
playing to win is a whole different scenario.
What? So, do you think there's a higher chance? Could go either way. This is just throwing out. If the Bucs had tied the game with 0 seconds left, field goal. They hadn't gotten in. They messed up.
They would have lost in overtime if Texans got the ball first.
Yeah, but the Bucs could have got the ball first.
And then we would have gone, he played for the tie. No, he was trying to play it safe, and they lost in overtime.
You needed to help your defense out. And there was
you didn't, because you were trying to help them out by scoring a touchdown, because you knew they couldn't kick a field goal. You had to score a touchdown. You had to in that scenario. Yeah, and I think, again, you take the runoff. You get the snap going. You're already probably at 30 seconds by the time everybody's set, and then you have less plays to score a touchdown, and then you end up settling for 3.
Well, they were coming out of a review and
the
huddle.
The clock runs as soon as the ref places it. So by the time everybody's set,
but everyone was set though. They were coming
because they called a timeout.
Yes. No, they reviewed it. The refs had a conference, and then they called the timeout to prevent the 10-second runoff.
Yeah, and again...
But I'm saying if they had 39 seconds with one timeout, they could have just as easily scored as opposed to having 49 seconds with 0 timeout.
But you don't know that.
But I do know that, because you have the timeout in your back pocket, and 40 seconds is so much time, just like 50 seconds is so much time, but you take the 10 seconds off, you control the game more as opposed to the Texans controlling the game. I think it was a great
that makes
mistake.
sense, because you could have a bolder play where you can say, okay, we guys got
you
really
could,
far down the field.
If you still have the
timeout.
If you still have the timeout, you can run the ball too. You can throw it in the middle of the field. You could have just as easily scored the touchdown.
You can really only run the ball once, maybe twice if you're lucky.
But by losing the timeout, you can't run the ball at all. You can, but it's gonna get messy. It's gonna get sloppy.
Yeah, but then that works out because if you throw an incomplete pass, then it stops the clock anyway.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you have the timeout in your back pocket, you have way more options, and it makes it more likely to score a touchdown because you can use the middle of the field. Even with 40 seconds or 50 seconds, that's plenty of time. An NFL offense can run in the middle of the field a running play and run functionally with 40 seconds. It's not that time. If it was 30 seconds, don't take the 10-second runoff. I agree. But when you have that much time left, you have to take that runoff. Especially
I just don't
with the
think so
defensive
because
play.
I'd rather have a coach leave as much time as possible to win the game, not go, we'll take the time off and we're always going to be lucky, no matter what happens because we can kick the field goal in our back pocket and play for overtime. No, he did that to win the game. He did that because he wanted to score a touchdown. And just the fact that they scored a touchdown the very next play, you can't blame him for the entire loss. Okay,
No,
you just can't do that.
I said you could. I'm not doing that. I'm blaming the corners more than Todd Bowles. But he knows the corners were terrible. He knows that you have to score that.
But I don't
no
think
time
anybody
left.
in the building or anybody at that moment was expecting him to score on the very next play on a dot from Baker Mayfield. I don't think anybody in the entire planet was expecting that to happen.
But they didn't need to score on the very next play if they had taken the 10-second runoff either. It's still 39 seconds. It's not like it's taking it from 25 to 15.
But still a mistake here, there, and you're playing safe and kicking a field goal because you don't want to run out of time.
I'm just saying we could have gotten to overtime and had the ability to win or lose on a coin
I don't
toss
think they
as
would have
opposed
won.
to-
But that's stupid. Win the game now with your team.
But-
Don't play for overtime just in
I'm
case
not
you don't
s-
score a
I'm just
touchdown.
saying that by taking the 10-second runoff, it wasn't playing. That wouldn't be playing for overtime. That would be smart. That's what I think, and I think
I don't think so because it's not. It's playing to give your team enough time to score a touchdown. That's totally acceptable.
But you can't leave that much time for the Texans. We all knew it. We saw 45 seconds, and we were hopeful.
But that's the thing too. 40 seconds, 30 seconds.
That's the difference.
The Texans should not have had.
going
The
into that
Texans
40
should have
seconds?
not moved the ball like that on the
Two.
Bucs.
The Texans had two. I agree. I'm
They
with
should
you
not
on
have
that.
moved
Agreed.
the ball like that. Zy McCollum should have not let that guy go open on the sideline, and Carlton Davis should have had some awareness on the touchdown play. It shouldn't matter how much time is left. Even if they scored a touchdown with a minute left, you don't give up a touchdown if you're supposed to be a Pro Bowl defense or one of the best defenses in the NFL. You can't say too much time because that's a rookie quarterback. You can't say that.
Well, it's a rookie quarterback that threw for 400 yards at that point.
It seems like this keeps being the story. It's like we're this close to winning the game. Like with the Bills, we were just a Hail Mary from winning it. With this, it was just like had the clock just been a little bit more our friend, it would have worked out. But I mean, ultimately, it's like we're not playing good enough to where these things don't matter. It's like it comes down to this one little unfortunate thing at the end of the game, and it's unfortunate right now, and I don't see us recovering from it.
Well, and we had control of this game through 2.5 quarters. It started to unravel. We got stopped once, and the defense just couldn't stop them after midway through the third quarter. So Joel, that point I agree with. The Bucs could have easily ran away with this game and won it handily by 10 or 7 points, and it should have really been a nice and easy, not comfortable, but an easy win. Not easy, but not a nail-biting win. It shouldn't have had to go to a Baker Mayfield touchdown in the end. But the defense was so bad, especially with no kicker. We haven't even talked about this,
Dude,
but the Texans.
that was fun.
No,
that was like XFL
no,
stuff.
It's annoying.
Cool. But I'm saying, they were giving you points because they couldn't kick, and you had them 4th and 9, 4th and goal. And you have to stop them there. You have to take advantage of the fact that they don't have a kicker. You cannot let them score on that goal line play. I mean, that's terrible. They failed a couple 2-point conversions to give us extra points, and That one failed two-point conversion made it so we could extend the lead to 7 with a field goal, which should have been another break that we took advantage of, but we allowed them to go score right back down there. So everything the Bucs should have done in the last 20 minutes of this football game, they did not do. I will say we can just I'll go back to the first half because I think Todd Bowles botched that too. There was about 55 seconds left. It was 3rd and 20 for the Texans. And, 3rd and 20, no one you're not converting that. 3rd and 20, you should expect the defense to not let up a conversion. And Todd Bowles had 2 or 3 timeouts. I'm sorry, I should have remembered this, but it was 2 or 3 timeouts. I think it was 2 timeouts. He should have easily, I think it was 3 actually. 2 or 3 timeouts. There's 55 seconds. He let the Texans run the clock all the way down to 20 seconds before they ran their 3rd down play. They got stopped like 10 yards short, and then the half ended. Todd Bowles, your offense was working good. Baker was playing good. You got to call that timeout and let the offense go for a field goal. McLaughlin had already made a 50-plus yarder. He should have called a timeout before halftime. That's my other thing. So I think Todd Bowles cost us out of a field goal before halftime, and then he cost us 10 or 15 seconds on that game-winning drive for the Texans.
It's weird. It's like when we want him to do a timeout, he doesn't. And again, this is hindsight football, but it does.
This one, my phone was crackling out during the winning drive of the Texans, so I was kind of like going off text and then going off what I could see on my phone.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the whole picture on that. But my phone was working right before halftime. And this one, I was like, why is he not calling timeout? Why is he not calling timeout? Please call a timeout. I said it from the get-go. I knew it. That one, it stood out to me, and he should have called that.
My frustration is that it's like for the second half, it's like, why did we only have 1 timeout going into the end of the game? It's like, why were we so sloppy, or why did we have to use 2 timeouts?
I know one was a play clock on offense.
Yeah, so sloppy.
Yes, that's probably on Baker or a receiver or someone not lining up. I don't know when we use the other timeout.
Yeah, so it's like I wish that we could have been in that situation the last 2 minutes of the game, having 2 timeouts. It's like that's winning football, is having timeouts when you need them most at the end of the game.
But we didn't need the timeouts. Winning football is not letting a team drive down with 45 seconds left for a touchdown.
True.
Yeah. Unless you guys have any things, I think we should move on to offense. We already did the Bolus thing last week. I'm just saying what I thought, but I do not think this game is on Todd Bowles. He didn't do anything to change my perspective on him, but I don't think this game's on Todd Bowles. But we will say this
Don't worry, audience. We are 1 week closer to him being fired.
Okay, that's not funny. Maybe it's a little.
I don't think you should want that. I really don't if you're a Bucs fan.
I'm the type of Bucs fan where it's like, hey, new coach, let's go. Let's see what this guy's got. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, man. I think this could be.
Greg Schiano, let's go. Let's see what you got for us.
Greg Schiano.
Yes,
had a
please
legacy
remember
Saturday.
the 100 coaches we've had from John Gruden to Arians. I don't want to go through that again.
Man,
Lovie Smith, you gonna cook up some wins for us?
Man,
it always makes me kind of excited.
All right, offense, very good game. They scored 37 points. That is the most they've scored in the game. This was highlighted by Rachaad White, best game of the season, I would say. He had 73 yards rushing and 46 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. Good to see him get some space. Aaron Stinney needs to be the guard for the rest of the season. He's doing good. There's running holes up the middle. So that's awesome to see. Baker Mayfield, another solid, a good game. 21 for 30, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good game from him. He was really clutch, which even made it more impressive to me, his numbers. There was a little bit of a lull in the middle of that game where they couldn't get anything going, and that's where they didn't extend the league. But Baker played good. Cade Otton, best game of the season, 6 receptions, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We love to see that. Him and Otton's been getting more and more attention from Baker week by week. Love it. That's great. The Bucs did struggle on 3rd down. They were 3 for 13 on 3rd down with averaging 5.3 yards per play. So I'm just kind of spitballing stats and stuff that stuck out to me. Is there anything that stuck out to you guys?
Shout out Aaron Stinney. I think the Bucs definitely need to keep him there. Again, it's still kind of a toss-up whether what I want to do with Cody Mouch, do you let the rookie get experience, or do you go feeler there to just see how it works out? One thing, though, it is a small sample size. I was kind of like, I don't know, I feel like the run game has been better the past 2 weeks with Aaron Stinnie.
Yeah, I think Cody Mouch might just be better than Feeler, honestly.
Maybe so.
Like that, Feeler might just not be good. So I don't know.
Yeah, but anyways, I feel like the running game has been better, and I know it's 2 games, okay? But without Aaron Stinnie, and the Bucs have averaged 77.83 yards, rushing yards per game. Some of that was boosted by some big Baker Mayfield runs. I didn't factor that out or anything. I was just going by rushing yards per game. So 77.83. With Aaron Stinnie, 79.5. But it's only been 2 games. The Texans are the 11th best rushing defense in the NFL.
Yeah, they had
and the Bills are the 22nd.
Yeah.
So it's not a big sample size yet, but it feels a lot better than it looks on paper, I guess. It feels a lot better. So we'll have to see towards the end of the season how it looks. If he's in there for the rest of the year, which I think.
I hope.
Yeah, I hope too. I just think he gives them an extra spark in the interior side of the O-line. So.
Going into this game, like I was ready to give the keys to Kyle Trask. I'm like, all right, we're going down. It doesn't really matter at this point. But I say this to say this is where I was at. But looking at this, Baker Mayfield was 21 for 30 with 256 yards. So, I mean, I'm not going to give up on him yet. I just, I'm really excited for old Kyle Trask to get the keys. But I will say Baker Mayfield had a really good game, and it's sad to see we didn't win it.
Joel is checked out from these 2023 Bucs. He is not loving it right now.
That's a good segue, because are we ready to tank, boys? Are we ready to tank?
I do want to say
no.
Bucs had 9 penalties for 90 yards, and they had probably 4 or 5 that could have been accepted that were declined. Says a lot about our secondary that people were holding, and then the receivers were still getting wide open, catching the ball.
Burnt, man.
So that does really say a lot about our great secondary that played great. Also, Devin Tompkins had the best return of the Bucs season, and it got called back for holding.
Yeah, no replay. Thanks, NFL, for that.
But
I'd at least like to see it, please.
I mean, a lot of holdings on run backs are usually dumb. But just, I don't know, man. I just want to see a good Bucs kickoff return, and it just didn't happen. But Tompkins looked pretty good back there, I'll say. He had a couple nice punt returns, a couple nice kick returns. He's getting forward progress, getting yards, helping us flip the field. So, good job, Devin Tompkins. He had a good game.
It really stinks we lost this game, because I'm looking at some stats right here. Like, Chase McLaughlin got a 55-yard field goal. It's like, I want to be coming in today talking about how good that was.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like a wishy-washy show where it's like, we lost, but let's talk about the field goal.
I feel like our kicking range isn't – I mean, I love Chase McLaughlin, but our kicking range really isn't that much better than last year. He scares me on a lot of those long attempts.
He's making them, but
they just look so weird going to the goalpost. It stresses me out.
Hey, he's making long ones, though, because he made a 57 or 59 against – he missed one – that was 57 and made the 59.
See, yeah, it was a Bills. He nailed that super long one, and then the 52-yard one was like the worst kick I've ever seen that wasn't blocked. So
yeah, that was. Sometimes you just maybe the
that one was so bad.
Maybe the holder pulled the laces in or something.
No, he didn't. Because I was watching the replay to see like that definitely got blocked, or they messed up the snap and it was perfect.
Sometimes stuff happens.
You can't get them all.
Yeah, you can't get them all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk Bucs outlook on the season. Well, they are 3-5. What do you want to say? Sorry.
I just think to answer your question or to answer your statement, Joel, about Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Like, I mean, how could you not watch that game and go, this guy's a warrior?
No, I'm all about that.
Really
I agree.
A warrior, and every week, man, all he wants to do is win, and he's given everything. He's given everything. And it's week in and week out, you see that, just refusing to go down on plays and making some elite passes like that. Again, the pass to Kate Otten in the end zone, man, at the end of the game. I mean, perfect pass. Perfect. The defender could not make a play on it. That was either going out of bounds or right in his hands, and he put it right on the money. So I'm not ready to give up on Baker Mayfield at all.
And the other thing too is Kyle Trask. I don't know if he would handle weakness of the offensive line. Well, like he'd be probably going down a lot. Like Baker's been pretty slippery. So
I think Baker's more elusive. I think you have
he's
to give
slippery.
it
Oh,
to
for
him.
Slippery.
sure, he's more elusive than Kyle Trask.
Yeah, so I don't think it would be a good move, but there is just part of me where it's like, all right, the season's not going anywhere. Let's just see what we got in old Trask.
So we can look.
It'd be bad.
We
I'd
can.
like to see it.
All right, so let's talk about this because the Bucs, as of right now, sit in third in the NFC South. The Saints are 5-4 in first place. The Falcons are 4-5 in second place, and the Bucs are 3-5 in third place. So they are a game and a half back from first place. They still have a game against the Saints. They still have a game against the Falcons. Still got 2 against the Panthers. Our other games come up this week. We have Titans at home. Then we go on the road in San Francisco. Then we go on the road to Indianapolis. Panthers at home. Falcons on the road. Packers on the road. Jaguars at home, Saints at home, Panthers on the road. So, at this point at 3-5, we would have to be 9-8. You would have to win 6-3. Yeah, 6-3, 10-7. You'd have to be 7-2. I don't know. There's a lot. No, it's doable. No, I'm with you.
Doable.
I'm with you. There's a lot of winnable games. Like both Panthers games should absolutely be wins.
Easy wins.
Colts on the road.
You're beating the Saints again at home.
The Titans should be a win at home, in my opinion. I know Will Levis
We'll
looked
get to
good,
that in a bit, yeah.
but that should be. I mean, 49ers on the road. You can track
But they're
that one
struggling.
out. They're struggling. Yeah,
you
might
don't know what 49ers team you'll
might
get.
pull one out, but I feel like they just got Chase Young. I feel like they're going to ramp up the next 2 weeks.
And that's at the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got home field
So,
advantage.
but I mean, other than that, I mean, Jaguars at home could be a tough game. I know Will's not into the Jags and doesn't buy them, but that could be a tough game. Packers on the road, Lambeau's always tough, but the Packers.
But the Packers stink.
They've shown nothing good. So these are, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 winning records left on our schedule. So very easily, I don't think putting in young players is going to do us, mostly for the fact that there's not that many young players on our team that aren't already playing that I feel like could benefit some extra time. So I think you as a Bucs, you kind of you're on a 4-game losing streak. You started off 3-1. You got to just put it behind you, shake your shoulders off, and press on because we know Baker's going to keep playing because he's playing for a contract. Whether it's with us or with another team, he's playing with a contract. And I think he's going to get the rest of the reps if he doesn't get hurt. And I think he's going to
and his play
it
alone
out
deserves
hard.
it.
Yeah,
His
no,
play
he
alone
deserves.
this year deserves
No, he
to
deserves a
go the rest
contract
of the year.
from someone. I agree. I'm with you. You guys know I'm the Florida fan, but I think Baker Mayfield far and away should be the starting quarterback right now. He has not been the reason at all, except for maybe the Philadelphia game. We didn't play good, but that's all right. So I see a lot of wins. You have to start this weekend at home against the Titans. I think we can segue. We can preview that if you guys are ready for it.
Before we do this, I have my soapbox over here. We're in a retooling, kind of revamping season right now. And I think part of that can come from the draft. Like, just lately I've been thinking about, the Tom Brady's and the Brock Purdy's. Like, these guys are coming in the latest rounds you can get. So let's stock up a couple more losses. If we go to the playoffs, we're just a space filler. We're going out first round. So give me a couple more draft picks. Give me more draft picks so that I can trade up in the draft. Like, there's no, head coach, he's out the door the second this season's over. So let's just pack this puppy up. Like, I'll bring back Baker Mayfield next year, but I want to give him a couple new toys. And I want to help him out in the lines. So that's my thing. I know that it's not the right take, but that's just, the guy on your podcast you're listening to right now talking out of his butt. So take it for what it's worth.
That's just so negative.
It's
so negative for no reason.
I want to be even better for 2024.
Yeah, but
and if we can get some fresh players,
But
on
we're
the
not
draft,
going to be better by tanking.
Yeah,
and there's no
no.
guarantee for the future. There
I'm
isn't.
just saying, you
There's
might
no
find
guarantee.
yourself a Brock Purdy. I'll take the.
But is
Cliff.
Brock Purdy even the guy? I mean, look at him. He's thrown more interceptions
all right,
and
we can
touchdowns
go
in his
Tom
last
Brady.
5 games.
What are
If
we?
you only accept
Why are we
one.
talking about our 7th-round picks if we're tanking? Those are the picks we use if we're doing good. We want our high picks. Like we
I'm
want.
just saying,
You want high picks, but
you
you're
might
not even
find-
going to get that. You're not even going to get that if
Yeah.
you tank. There's no way you can be worse than the Bears. There's no way you can be worse than
I'm
the
not saying
Panthers.
that. Like,
It would
give me-
take
give me, like,
the
the fourth
Cardinals. We're not even going to get that.
No, yeah, we're not.
There's so many other
If we don't
terrible
win
teams.
another time this season,
There's just no way we do that.
We're not doing it, but
we're
I
too good
would
of a
like
football.
it.
There's too many good players on this football team.
And this team can turn it around.
They really
we
could.
know what has to fix.
No,
we know what has to be
We're not going to
fixed.
fix
And
this
honestly-
problem every week. We're going to fix it.
Honestly,
We're gonna
I mean,
fix it.
some of the things that we've had a problem with has been fixed with Aaron Stinney because we've always talked about and I mean, injuries happen, but I mean, Jamel Dean doesn't go out of that game is a whole different thing.
It's a whole different game.
Zion McCollum is a backup at the end of the day. We know Carlton Davis played terrible, and I know Dean Delaney started for Ryan Neal, so we're trying to fix that problem.
We're trying to fix that. Yeah, dude, that's
So-
another point. They are trying to correct the mistakes. They are desperately trying to correct the mistakes. And I just think there's no reason to think as a fan that this season's over and we should tank. For what? For
I'm
what?
saying
The only
you
thing.
get a couple more picks and you're able to use them to trade up in the draft.
But nobody's going to pass on Caleb Williams. You're not going to convince the Cardinals.
I want like the other guys. Like I don't know.
Drake May?
Give me like the best defensive back in that spot or something like that. Like give me something to strengthen the lines.
Here's the thing. I think it's
Like,
more about
give me a good running back. I know those come later in the draft. This is a conversation for later, but I think this is a good opportunity to retool. We still have a team. Let's just freshen up a little bit more in the draft by letting go of this
But you're
season.
not going to have a team if you tank. You're not going to have any. You're not going to be a destination where free agents are going to want to come to. And the guys who are free agents, and I think there's two big elephants in the room that we know of, three, they're not going to want to re-sign if you tank on them. These guys want to win. You're in this league to win. And if you tank, you're not going to have anybody want to come play for you.
Hear me out. What if the next head coach coming into this building was Jim Harbaugh?
No, I would hate that.
I've heard that.
That's a
I've heard
rumor
that
going
theory.
around.
I would
that theory.
absolutely hate that.
I wouldn't like it either. I'm not
Because
a Jim
you look
Harbaugh
what
fan.
He's a
happened.
winner.
Yeah,
I
but look
know
what
the
happened in
scandal.
the 49ers when he decided he wanted to go to Michigan. He completely ruined that team. And it took a great GM in John Lynch and a good coach in Kyle Shanahan to turn that team around. But they were terrible, and it was all on Jim Harbaugh for ruining that franchise.
Here's my thing.
When he wanted out on his own accord. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I've been on this rock.
Rock in a hard place.
No, I don't know. I've been standing on this rock. This is not the right expression, but I've been standing on this hill. I've been on this hill. There we go. I've been on this hill since day one. There's so many players that are at the either twilight of their career or twilight of their prime on this team. There's plenty of players that we will get a couple more good years out of if we want, but there's so many players in this weird part of their career that we need to use this last 8 games to figure out if they should be a part of our future plan. So I think while a team where people are in their twilight of their careers, it might be good to play young players in their place. These guys are not in the full twilight of their career, except for none of them really are.
We really have no old heads. We talk about Mike Evans, but
he still
could have 3 or 4 good years left.
At least 1 or 2. So playing these people and seeing if they can be a winning product on the field with a couple tweaks in the offseason, playing it out, seeing if they could, if the 4-game losing streak is a fluke or if the 3-1 start was a fluke. Even if you don't make the playoffs, I think that's more valuable than trying to lose intentionally to get the 6th pick. I think figuring out what these guys are made of, if this is the twilight of this Buccaneers team from the Brady area, or if this is just a little bit of a down on the wavelength and we're going to go right back up with the same team. You have to figure that out personally. Because if the Bucs keep losing and they're putting their best effort up, because I don't think they're going to GM, coach, anything. I don't think they're going to intentionally tank. But if they end the season 6-11 or 7-10, I do think it's going to be time to move on from these players. And then you tank next year, which sucks. I'm not going to enjoy it. But I don't think you can't just do a mid-season change-up for a tank. I think you have to see what this prove-it Bucs is made of.
You have too much talent to do that.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Colby.
Todd Bowles is not going to want to tank. This is his last coaching opportunity.
Well, Jason Light's not going to want to tank either because his job could be on the line just as quick as Todd Bowles, if you want to bring that up. So I don't think he wants to tank
Jason
either.
Light's a little bit safer. Like Todd Bowles gone the day the offseason starts, but Jason Light, he's safe.
No, the Bucs are making the playoffs, and they're going 7-2.
Yeah, I mean, my papa one time said this: mediocrity is the worst place to be in sports.
No, but 10-7 Making the playoffs.
That's not mediocrity.
Yeah, making the playoffs is not
is
mediocrity.
good.
You are dreaming. I think
No.
we might win 2 more games this season.
Whoa, you're being
I
really
mean,
harsh on the Bucs right now.
That plank,
See, but here,
plank on the pirate ship, I'm jumping off.
So if we win 2 more games, then that's fine. Then you don't re-sign any of the free agents except for Winfield. You let them walk.
We'll win 3.
You let them walk. You
back a
trade
little
Chris
bit.
Godwin. You trade some of your older players for assets, and you strip it down and rebuild next year. But this year, you're playing it out. You have to. So we'll see how it goes.
So it's one of those things where the Bucs are so bad they're not even good at losing. So
They're not even
we-
bad.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh, dude.
there's no games this year
I'm not
where
saying,
they've
I'm
been
saying-
blown
I'm
out or
saying
been outclassed.
The 52-year experience of Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Joel
Will just walked out of the room.
Joel is really not. Joel is being real negative. It's all right. So here's what I think. I think in order to figure out, we can't go 3 games under 500. You cannot lose a home game against a rookie quarterback in Raymond James Stadium, and this will be a huge tell because if it is 3-6, I mean it's hard to come back from 3 games. But if you get back to 4-5, you have a tough game after this with the 49ers, but then you have a really easy stretch. You get back to 4-5 against the Titans. You need to do that, Bucs. All right. So the Titans, we know that they have a new quarterback, Will Levis. I don't know if Tannehill is trying to come back and they're going to replace him. They should keep Will Levis, but they got a really good receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. He's not as good as he once was, but with a good quarterback, he's shown that he can do good. They got it. Derrick Henry, know about him. They got a stingy defense. But
they're without Byard. They just traded him away to the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's one less piece on that Titans defense that you don't have to worry about.
Want to keep Baker upright. They're what's Jeffrey Simmons? That's their defensive end, right? That's Jeffrey Simmons. He's a really good player. Keep Baker upright. Let him play like he did this week because he played great. Yeah, I mean, this is a game. I know. Both teams are 3-5. Both teams are kind of in the same spot. They're trying to get back into a pretty mediocre. They're trying to get back into their division. So this is a big game for both. But I think the Bucs are going to bounce back. I think they're going to do it. I think we should leave Joel's pick to the last because he's had so much bearing on what the Bucs do. Because he picked them to lose, and he was right.
I mean,
so
that was an easy one.
That was not an easy one. They should have won that game.
They
man.
should have
Did you
won
guys pick
easy.
them to win? I can't
Yes,
remember.
you were the only one that picked them to lose.
Of course I picked them to
and
win.
they
It's
get
the
it-
Texans.
Yeah, they should have won that game. They only won by the best rookie passing performance of all time.
To those who are listening, this is the problem with fantasy sports. I was actually kind of happy to see him lose because I got a point. That's why I don't like fantasy sports.
Give me the Bucs to win this weekend. 27-21.
27-21. I like it a lot. Look, I think the Bucs are going to win this game, and I think, contrary to what Mr. Negative says over here,
Hey man, just because I'm
This
a sting
team-
Dre doesn't mean you have to take it out on me.
I don't know. You've been a little too negative.
You've been dragging the boat down. But it's all right. Hey, there's a lot of people that probably feel like
2024
Joel.
is going to be a good year.
No, but it's not though.
It's not.
2025 is what you're hoping is going to be a good year. But there's a lot of people that probably do feel like Joel right now. So we have to hear his side of the story because there's probably plenty of people that do actually feel like Joel. And so that's why we all have different perspectives. No, he's right. He's being a little negative, but it's not unfair to feel that way, in my opinion. But Will, what do you think the score is going to be?
I think it's going to be a grueling game. There's not a whole lot of tape on Will Levis. You can throw all the college tape out the window. This is the NFL. It's a totally different game. One game, he looks great. He throws the ball all over the field on the Falcons. Next game, though, a good defense in Pittsburgh shuts them down
really
completely.
Good defense.
And look, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you might be down. You might be upset about your performance. But we know the Tampa Bay area knows what you guys can do on defense. We've seen what you guys did in the Super Bowl and all the playoff runs, and there's so many pieces of that team still here. Get it together, regroup, watch some film. That being said, it's going to be a grueling game. I think both defenses are still pretty good, but one team, I think, is looking to win. One team's looking to win and looking to win for their future. Another team is kind of cutting their losses and riding this out. and that team's not the Bucs. That's the Titans. I think the Bucs win this game 20-13.
I'm sorry to tell you this, guys, but last I checked, Bruce Arians isn't here anymore. So this is not the winning team we had a couple years ago. The Bucs are going down with the ship, 26-16. I'm going to call this one the game of the field goals.
Oh, all right. Hey, if you like field goals and watching the Bucs lose, tune into Joel's game this weekend. But we'll see. Hey, is Joel going to keep being right about Bucs losses, or will the Bucs finally prove him wrong?
I don't feel as good about this one as last week, so
Right.
there's my glimmer of hope to you listeners.
there
I
you
hope
go.
you're wrong. I hope you're dead wrong.
I hope you're wrong, too. He
And-
hopes he's wrong, too. He
and
wants
I
the
mean,
Bucs-
I'm playing a fantasy game right now.
And look,
so.
Anybody who's listening right now, I'm serious. It might look bad. You might be depressed. You might not see any hope. But again, this team's not quitting.
God, dude.
This team's not quitting. These players are not quitting. Baker Mayfield's not quitting on you. So don't quit on them. Continue to root for them. It is a home
Show
game.
up.
Raymond James Stadium. Make sure to show up if you can. Take the Sunday off with the family and go enjoy a day at Raymond James Stadium. Don't quit on the Buccaneers.
Break the
Do not
creamsicle
quit.
curse.
This team-
Yeah, talk about that one. Creamsicle curse?
Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not won a game since the creamsicle, and we did bring this up.
Is that 0-4?
The creamsicle's cursed.
0-4.
I don't know.
Bring him back next year.
I don't even want to bring it up because
it doesn't matter. Bring
I'm
it back
not
next
bringing
year.
it up. I'm not bringing it up. I can't talk about it because
I
I'm not
think-
putting them in a bigger curse.
I think the only way the Bucs win is if they burn every single creamsicle jersey they've ever sold and worn, and then they will win the rest of the games.
Sorry, guys. I'm not burning
I'm
my
not
creamsicle.
putting I put the Lightning in an overtime curse. I'm not putting the Bucs in a losing creamsicle curse. I won't do it.
'Cause they're
I love
winning
those
this
jerseys too
Sunday.
much. And they're winning this Sunday. They're beating the Titans, and they're going to shut the haters up.
Hey, is it too late in Bruce Arians' life to bring him back?
Oh my! Well, not for a rebuilding team. You got to figure out what you
I
want.
know. I was thinking that, but
We already did it once.
I wouldn't mind some Bruce Arians.
Yep.
All
So
right, no more
do we want?
Bucs.
All right, do we want to go Lightning, or we want to do a little Rays housekeeping real quick?
Let's do the Rays.
All right, let's do
Yeah,
the
let's do Rays housekeeping. We'll kind of linger on the Lightning a teeny bit.
Yeah.
And then we got college football.
Yep. We'll do Rays real quick. So
You didn't think you'd hear the Rays this early in the offseason, but
Well,
here we are.
I didn't want to talk about them, but
The
they
Ra-
always keep coming back.
So, the World Series was last week. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers. Conveniently, the
You
team
finally
who beat the Rays.
us and the World Series.
So,
in a
just
season.
saying, we lost to the World Series champions, guys. So maybe it wasn't as bad as we all said. But we're not going back to that. We are talking about 2024. As, first of all, we have to say goodbye to someone who's been a big part of the Rays organization, and that is Peter Bendix. He was the president of baseball he was the president of baseball operations or assistant in the Rays. He's basically the assistant GM to Eric Neander, but now he's going to be the head president of baseball operations for the Miami Marlins.
the sister city.
Yep, he's taken place of the one woman GM. I forgot her name, but
It was weird.
Yeah, it was-
the
it was-
letters
it was
didn't make
very,
sense for how you
Asian.
pronounce it.
yeah. So he's going to be doing that. First of all, congratulations, Peter. Thank you for everything you've done for the organization. I know we've not agreed with everything you've done. However, mostly you and Eric Neander have built up a good team with what the resources you've been given, and we appreciate you and we wish you the best of luck in Miami. However, do you guys think this is going to be a big loss for the Rays, or do you guys think Eric Neander is actually the mind behind the madness?
The Rays seem to have like a farming system. Like they have that farming system for the players, obviously the farm system. But it seems like they have it for the front office too. So it's kind of like, all right, next man up.
Ah, man. I hope Eric Neander's the brains behind it, but I don't want to put all my eggs into that basket. So I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried we're losing some brains, and what he's able to do here on a low salary cap, and they weren't able to spend a whole lot. You just don't want to see a brain like that leave.
Here's my defense.
Maybe the afro.
Here's my
I didn't like
defense,
when he had the
though.
afro.
You saw what claim was it claim or Chaim?
Shane Bloom.
And
And then also Andrew Friedman. We've lost some minds
So
from the Rays.
Friedman's been doing good, but Chaim Bloom, he just got fired with the Red Sox. So it seems like when these guys kind of go out on their own, like they're not quite as successful as we think. So I think what the Rays front office kind of is like a puppet show where there's got to be like one puppet behind the scene, and like if we lose that mindset or something, then we could start seeing some struggles. But it kind of seems like these guys are just puppets.
I don't think it's a puppet. I do think it's like a mentality and mindset.
Mentality's probably the better word.
Yeah, I think it's just the way people treat the Rays and the things they look for that is probably consistent. That one person that's taught the other, and they've done the rest of throughout since they've become good in the Rays era, past Devil Rays. So I think it's more a mentality and mindset. I think it's a lot like the Nick Saban coaching tree. I think there's going to be like Andrew Friedman. There's going to be some people this is not the last Rays exec to get fished out to another team. It just isn't going to be. Rays coaches, execs, they're always huge pieces off the market in that sense. But I do think it's like the Nick Saban tree. There's going to be a couple really good ones, and there's going to be a couple duds. You guys remember Jeremy Pruitt? Dud. He was a Nick Saban coaching tree. Maybe Billy Napier's a dud from the Nick Saban coaching tree. I'm not saying that. But there's going to be duds, there's going to be good ones.
For me, it feels like the duds and the good ones are based on if the team's spending money. Because you notice when Boom went to the Red Sox, they kind of like – they got Trevor Story, and that was about it. Like that was the only like big signing I really remember him doing. They got the third baseman from the Dodgers, but like, that was a really big deal. So they kind of brought him in, and like it was kind of like, all right, no more spending money, just build us a system.
He has been there a couple of years, so they've probably had some big spending.
A couple, but nothing that really caught a headline.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like when you have money, sometimes the Rays way is not the best way to build a team if you have money, and sometimes the Rays way takes a lot of good coaches and development people in the minor leagues, and if you don't have that and you're relying on that, and you go to an organization that doesn't have that and you kind of expect it to be like that, it's just not going to be the same thing.
So I think the Marlins will have success because we know from their history they're not really one to spend money. So if they're able to continue building their system and find a good coach, then they might have a few good years ahead of them.
That's my theory of why they fired their other GM, is because she kind of went big buying at the market and got some people that they had to kind of appease and spend money to. So I think they fired her because they didn't want to spend as much money as they did. So that sucks for her, but she's going to go somewhere and do good. She might go to the Red Sox, honestly. She did a really good job. She got Jake Berger and Josh Bell at the deadline, and they made them a playoff team. So
good job
fair,
to our
actually.
big brothers down south.
That's fair.
No, there was no reason for her to get fired. It was definitely she spent too much
Well,
money.
didn't she resign? Didn't she step down?
She got. I
Or
think
she
they mutually parted ways.
mutual.
So she got fired.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think there's a very good chance she goes to the Red Sox. So other than that, that's funny. Other than that, we can talk about some of the people that we didn't re-sign.
I just thought of a League of Their Own for some reason. I don't know.
What?
I don't know why.
I was wondering why you were laughing. I'm like, I'm not going to ask him.
I don't know why. Sorry.
Tom Hanks' best role.
That's funny.
We gotta go to some sad news. Colby, break it
so
down for
there's
us.
some Rays legends that are gone, but not forgotten. As Jalen Beeks, one of my favorite pitchers on the Tampa Bay Rays of all time, is going to be a Colorado Rockies pitcher. So that makes a lot of sense. He'll probably fit in and try to be a starter and have like an 8 ERA on the Rockies.
Yeah, he fits in perfectly there.
Will's going to buy his jersey.
Yeah, Jalen Beeks, Rockies jersey, that would be
Jalen
fun.
Beeks.
Hey,
Money's not an option.
Dude, he's going to look good in a Rockies jersey because those jerseys look good. This one's a little bit more sad. Christian Bethancourt is going to the Cleveland Guardians. The Rays did not pick up his option.
We're just like the husband and wife of baseball. It's like what's yours is mine.
That's true, honestly.
But
they
seem
didn't
to
get
lose a
Kevin
lot
Cash.
of catchers to the Guardians.
Hey, they got a manager. So Kevin Cash, a young manager too. So Kevin Cash.
Hopefully
is
he's
there.
the answer because don't you dare steal Kevin Cash.
So, didn't you say you wanted him fired?
I was thinking that as I said that. I'm like,
And you said he was going to go to the Guardians.
I said it wouldn't be too sad.
But yeah, Christian Bethancourt is
we
gone.
might need a new voice.
The Guardians picked him up. It's just like Mike Zunino all over again. Hopefully Christian Bethancourt, for his sake, does better than Mike Zunino did with the Guardians. But we're going to miss him. Very good defensively, especially gunning runners down. He just had a really...
miss his bat?
Yeah, his bat. I miss his April and May bat. But the last 3-4 months of the season, he just was not able to hit like he was the first couple of months. So we'll miss him, but I think Penso and Mejia and maybe another big signing could be the answer. Also, Josh Fleming got picked up by the Phillies. Bye. I'm not.
Hey,
I wonder how many
never
innings, How
forget.
many innings did he pitch last year?
Never
Like 10?
forget, the
No,
Rays
he
were
probably
40
pitched
and
40.
15.
40?
The Rays were 40 and 15 when Fleming was on the active roster.
Oh.
Never forget.
There you go. But I mean, Josh Fleming, he started off really good. His debut year, he came out hot, and we thought he was going to be a part of the thing, but he just never. He just was too soft throwing, too much BP for him. He did. I mean, he ate up innings, man. I remember that one Dodgers game where it was the brunch game, and he pitched, and we had no bullpen, and it was like we won, I think 11-10, and we were like, "Hey, Fleming, bro, no matter what happens, you're going 6th inning." And he gave up like 8 runs, but he went 6 innings, man. So he ate up innings. Best of luck to you, Josh. I hope
he looked sharp in glasses.
Yeah, there you go. He was nerd power, baby. But good. Best of luck to you. I hope you do well with the Phillies, but we just had too much good starting pitching.
All right, we'll go to the other players who were put on waivers and who were unclaimed. That is infielder Tristan Gray, right-handed pitcher Cole Sulcer, and outfielder Raimel Tapia. We bringing any of them back?
Tristan Gray needs to be in the Rays organization. He has a nice swing. He has a good. He hit a go-ahead home run in his only game in one of the biggest games of the year. Are you kidding me? And he should have been back up on the roster. I don't know how old he is, but he should be on the roster. Tapia and Sulcer, I'm not really into. Raimel Tapia was a good pinch runner for what he was, but nothing crazy. But Tristan Gray, bring him back.
I don't really remember many of them on the team, so I don't have any bad memories of them. So I'm okay if they all came
Man,
back.
Tristan Gray had the greatest MLB debut ever, and we just were like, nope, we're going with Taylor Walls. So I want to see him back. He was, dude, Camden Yards, go-ahead home run if Pete hadn't blown it. Man, gosh. Ugh.
We'll always
Rays.
remember that, Tristan.
Tristan, that was great. But I say bring him back. The other two can go.
I think
while we're on the topic of the Rays, there is a little bit of rumbling around the league where their stadium might not be as locked down. So while we're here with the Rays, I'll quick bring that up. But I mean, it's likely we won't touch on the Rays for like another month. It seems like it's usually by like
there's a lot. Free agents is
it's
about to heat up.
It's like the first week of December that it really heats up. So, and we might not talk about them until then. So just thought I'd put that on the table for.
Some notable free agents that became available this week: Cody Bellinger, Jorge Soler. Please get him on the Rays. Oh my gosh, he would be the perfect player for us.
Soler. I've been saying Soler on this podcast.
Jorge Soler on the Rays. Eddie Rosario is a free agent. Could be a nice lefty bat. There's plenty more. Shohei, yes. There's plenty more. There's a bunch of people.
They're already making Shohei's Dodgers jersey as we speak.
That'll ruin baseball.
I don't want to. They'll still find a way to choke, bro.
Yeah.
I hope. I just don't want to see him in Dodger blue.
No, I want to.
Please
get him on the Giants, man.
That would be nice.
Get him on the Giants. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
But
too many hobos there.
Any good like mid-tier catchers on the free agent list this year?
I don't know, man. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
We'll do dive in this later, but there's
one of my favorite times of the year.
There's a lot of people available. It's a pretty deep free agent market. A little bit deeper pitching, but there's a lot of hitters available. The Rays have. We spent our money on a pitcher last year in Eflin. Got to get a hitter. Please, please, please. J.D. Martinez. Get J.D. Martinez on the Rays.
I've been wanting him for
Get one or two hitters. I mean, we don't need to just settle with one like we did with one pitcher last year. I think our pitching rotation is pretty much set for the next couple of years, and we're going to get Springs back and hopefully
Shane
Baz and Drew Rasmussen towards the end of this year. I know they're thinking probably not.
I think Shane Baz will be ready for opening day.
Yeah, he'll be ready, but I'm saying Drew Rasmussen, it's either like probably playoff time or not at all. So let's hope he comes back too. He's a dog. We saw what he did in 21. So yeah, let's get some bats, baby.
Another year, another time that we say, please, oh Stu Sternberg,
please spend money.
Open up your purse strings. We'll come to the game if you get a player or two.
Yep, that is true. We really want to see just one I'll take one big bat, but two would be huge. But we do know the Rays have a lot of people coming back. They have a pretty filled up lineup. They just need to get that experience in there to help everyone else out. And hopefully figure out this shortstop situation. Because Ronald Franco was reinstated to the roster. But we're not going to speak on that until any further news comes out. But hopefully, if he's innocent, hopefully he's back. And if not, hopefully it's junior time.
Free Wander Franco, please, MLB. Look, yeah, you're right. The Rays got a core. They just need a couple pieces. But there is a team that has a strong core as well in the Tampa Bay area.
Yep.
And I think it's time to talk about them.
Yeah, we're talking about your Tampa Bay Lightning. And they had 3 games this week. You guys, if you listened last week, you might have gotten spoiled for one of them, as the Lightning finished up their homestand, against the Seattle Kraken. And this game was a pretty back-and-forth game towards the end, but the Kraken jumped out to an early 3-1 lead. The one goal the Lightning got was a Tanner Jeannot goal, so we love to see that. Yanni Gourde hurt us. That hurts. Miss him. One of my favorite Lightning players during those runs, man. Loved him. However, this was after the first period. It was 3-1 Kraken, but then the Lightning chipped away as Alex Barré-Boulet got a power play goal to cut the lead to 3-2. And then in the third period, with about 5 minutes to go, Brandon Hagel ties the game up. It's 3-3. We're headed to overtime, and that means the Lightning lose because we're cursed in overtime. Will cursed us. I'll send all your complaints to him as, what's his name? Jared or James? Okay. Mr. McCann on the Kraken scored a power play goal. Taking a penalty in overtime is brutal. Hate that. It has to be obvious, so that's bad play. And they score the power play goal. And the Lightning lose this game 4-3, get a point, but not the win. And then we move on to Thursday night as the Lightning head on a road trip. And they start this road trip into Columbus against the pretty lowly Blue Jackets, but they're 500 on the year. So, not 500. They're okay.
They're not good.
They're not good. They shouldn't be good. But the Lightning go down 1-0 in the first period. But then in the second period, they strike back as Steven Stamkos gets a goal. And then Connor Sheary joins the party. His first goal is a Tampa Bay Lightning player. But then the third period, it just unravels as the Blue Jackets score 3 unanswered goals. Bruce Jenner, Johnny Gaudreau's in there. And, man, empty netter for Johnny Gaudreau, but that's all right. 4-2, the Blue Jackets win, and a really bad loss that left a sour taste in our mouth. However, the Lightning are back at it. They're back in Ottawa. They lost the game there early this year.
Revenge game.
But they're not losing 2, as the Lightning go down 1-0, a theme of this week, and then they strike back as Victor Hedman gets his second goal of the season to tie it up 1-1 after the first period. And then the second period, the Lightning explode as Braden Point, Mikey Esamont, and then Braden Point again score 3 unanswered goals. The Lightning go up 4-1.
That was such a good period.
Yep, and then after the Claude Giroux cuts the lead to 4-2, Brandon Point gets his hat trick on the power play, 5-2 Lightning.
There was one hat on the ice. It was a visor. Somebody threw one, and I was like, yes,
Shout out to that guy.
Shout out that guy. We love
you. You rock.
And then we go back and forth. Senators goal. Cooch got a goal in the last goal of the week to give Will his prediction, which was clutch for him. And then the Senators get another goal, but it's not enough as the Lightning win this game 6-4. So that was your week. The Lightning go 1-1-1. And they start off the road trip pretty good. No, they start off the road trip
at 500.
They end their homestand pretty bad, but that's all right. So
what
do we want to talk about?
The lesson learned is that we can't record on Lightning games because we lose in overtime.
That is true. We were pretty good with Rays games while we were recording, but Lightning games have not been the same thing. They've been pretty bad for us.
I'm sorry, Bolts Nation. I cursed you guys. I feel terrible for it. Another overtime loss. But I saw so many similarities this week to games earlier in the year, and it starts with the Seattle Kraken. You played a terrible first period. You were getting outshot, outplayed, and it was 3-1 at going away. And you look at the rest of the game, the Lightning outscored the Kraken 2 goals to 0 in 2 periods. Well, you got to play solid hockey 1 through 3. You can't have such a bad first period where you're crawling back, climbing back into a game, and having Brandon Hagel save you with 5 minutes left in the third period just to tie the game. Wasn't to take the lead, that was just to tie the game. And unfortunately, we see that happen in overtime, but it's like sometimes you're fighting all the way back. There's that sigh of relief. Okay, we tied it, but then you lose that momentum going right into overtime and the break and stuff like that. And that game reminded me a lot of the Buffalo Sabres game. Kind of the same thing. A very bad first period, but the Lightning dominate the rest of the game, but you just can't finish in overtime. But it shouldn't have gotten to that. You got to play solid 1 through 3.
Yeah, this game was not a well-played game by the Lightning defensively. Jonas Johansson had to make 39 saves, and he let in 4, so that's 43 shot attempts on Jonas Johansson. That is way too many. Good for him to make that many saves, but that's way too many goals, shots allowed by the Lightning.
Well,
the Lightning had...
That's the thing. There's 20 shots alone in the first period.
Yeah. So you can't get ambushed like that in the first period. That's brutal. You had 9 giveaways by the Lightning in this game, which is way too many. And also, the Kraken scored 2 out of 3 on their power play opportunities. So the penalty kill. Just so overall, defensively, was a very lackluster performance in this game. And they were able to bring it back and get a point, but overall was not a good game for the Lightning.
Yeah, it really wasn't. Disappointing. Look, Seattle Kraken, they are a playoff team, as we saw last year. But we also know the Lightning are a playoff team. And it's just frustrating to see them play so bad at times. It's really like you got to be able to weather the storm. Other teams will have better periods than you. That's a given. But I think what we saw in the first period against Seattle is inexcusable. You got to be able to weather the storm a little bit better. You got to stay composed. Couple too many penalties. You got to be able to hold your water. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, and I look at this first period, Tanner Jeannot was able to cut in that lead, which is huge, especially when you're not doing good. But then the Lightning were, I think they let them score 1 goal after that.
Yeah, like right off the rip.
Yeah, right off the rip, I remember. It was so it got a little crazy. But after you get that goal to kind of strike back with them in that period, you can't let them get a goal answer right back. That's really bad, and that was the difference in the game.
29 seconds later.
Yeah, you can't let that happen. You have to gain some momentum after scoring a goal. So that sucks.
So we get to Columbus.
Yeah, we'll get to Columbus because this is probably
the worst game of the year, I think.
I think so too, man. You should not be losing.
In our defense, this was the backup goalie.
Speaking of which, the backup goalie, man, might be time.
He is 0-2 for this.
Yeah, he's 0-2. Matt Tompkins, a backup goalie. Look, I know Jonas Johansson is going to be our backup goalie in the future, so we just kind of have to ride it out with this guy. But you can't blame it.
He's an older guy, too. He is 29 years old. So I wasn't thinking he'd be a rookie, but no, he's 29.
Yeah, you can't blame it completely on him, though, because I know the score says 4-2 on paper, but watching film, this game could easily have been 6-2, and it started the same way as it did with Seattle. Very sloppy defense, very bad turnovers, and unfortunately, someone who we look highly to and someone who's been a leader and a solid guy is Victor Hedman. I think he played a very mediocre first period. He let Columbus get behind him, and he had a one-on-one to the net, and unfortunately, Matt Tompkins saved it, but again, come on, Victor Hedman, you're a little more seasoned than that. You can't let guys just get completely wide open behind you on defense. And then he had a bad pass that led to another great scoring opportunity that was saved. So, yeah, sloppy defense in this one, and I think, I think the Blue Jackets could have scored more goals than that. It was only 2 goals, but they could have easily scored 6. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like you can't take any team for granted. This is the National Hockey League. You might think a team is not on your level, but you can't come out sloppy. They want to win just as much as you. I mean, Columbus has some good players. Johnny Gaudreau is a world-class hockey player, so you can't come out flat in games like this. You don't want to start off a road trip like this with a bad loss. You want to start off the road trip on a high note with an easy game, and they just didn't do that. It was good for them to bounce back, but this is a bad loss. This is one of the worst of the season. This is a bad loss for the Lightning, and it's frustrating.
In the third period, they got 2 goals within 4 minutes of each other, and it's hard. Like, it's always like, how do you rebound after that goal? And for them to rebound with another goal, it's just, it's the growing pains of a season, but it's unfortunate.
Complete collapse there in the third period, especially going right off from start to finish. They let up a goal in 2 minutes, and a halfway point, then the empty netter. So, yeah, you can't. Sorry. They gave up a goal 5 minutes in. My bad. Anyways,
that
still
that
inexcusable.
That was scored early in the game too. Like, I think it was 2 minutes 30 seconds on the clock when they got it.
2 minutes 10.
2 minutes 10. I did my
math wrong.
You
want to go early. What on your?
I feel like when you have a backup goalie, you're more prone to kind of pull out your goalie early.
You want to give them enough time with the extra man on the ice.
Quick.
And especially it's not a playoff game, it's regular season, so you can kind of, not that they're giving up, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. One positive, though, Connor Sheary getting on the board, free agent acquisition from the Capitals. Sorry, had to clear my throat. Yeah, from the Capitals, seeing him get on the board, that's big. We want to see these free agents score some goals. We saw Tanner Jeannot in the game before do that. So, yeah, love to see it. I hope to see more of it, Connor.
I think he was due, too. I mean, you watch these games, and he's all over the place. He's in the right spot. So he was due to get one in the back of the net. So good for him. I think it's kind of one of those things, you get that monkey off your back, you can start playing more free. So. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
close out with the win. The one Tampa Bay team to win it over the weekend, to win a game.
Oh, man.
Against Senators. And it was really big because we saw them lose to Ottawa first week of the year. I don't think we were really expecting that. Ottawa does have some good stars on that team. But it was a good win. Wasn't a great win, in my opinion. Wasn't a great win because I look at it. Again, so many similarities to the first week. This game reminded me a lot of the Nashville game. You were up as much as 3-1, and you just could not put them away. Every time they scored in the third period, seemed like Ottawa would score right away. And you gave up 3 goals. Now, granted, you had 6, and that's good to get an early lead so you can afford to do that. But you're giving up 3 goals in the third period, man. Like, you got to be able to hold your water and get away unscathed. So it was a little concerning to kind of see them give up so much in the third period, but I'm glad they came out with a win, and they beat apparently a tough Ottawa Senators team.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's kind of time to start asking the question, are we concerned about the amount of times we've seen the Lightning blow leads completely or almost blow leads? Because it's kind of becoming a trend. We're breaking the fourth wall. We're talking the future. It happened tonight against the Maple Leafs.
I was going to say, this is going to be a future talk.
But I mean, we saw them. They blew a lead against Columbus, 1 goal, but still they blew it a lead. They're letting way too many goals in the third period when they have a big lead against the Senators, and we've seen them blow the lead a few times early on in the season. So is this starting to become a problem, or is this just an early season kink?
Again, I still think there's so much left of this season that I'm not going to get concerned yet. But it bothers me, not that they're blowing leads, because that's just going to happen in hockey, especially with how home ice works when you're on the road. The other team has a quicker time to make adjustments and put the lineups out based on where they are on the ice. So you're going to see some leads get blown, and you're going to see other teams take advantage of you. But what bothers me is the third period side of it. You're closing out games. You got to be able to hold on. You got to be able to hold on in the third period. That's so big. And it's kind of trickled in from the playoffs, I think. It really has. We've seen them. How many times against Toronto they had big leads and they would blow it late and lose in overtime. So you got to be able to hold on, Tampa Bay, especially when we've seen how poorly they've done in overtime this season.
It's concerning for me just reminiscing of the past. Like, it was like when we had a lead going into the third period, it was lockdown. It was like they ain't coming back. But now, seeing how we are, it's like this isn't our style of winning. Like, for another team, it kind of lets up in the third period. But then you know they're going to win in overtime. Like, that's different. But between our overtime losses lately, and this isn't the style of play that we've won Stanley Cups on. It's just not. That's not the way we win. So either we adjust and start winning these overtime games, or we get back to that lockdown third period.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we could look to see Bryce Boys look for one of those kind of scrappy defenders that we've gotten in the past. I know I'm thinking of Barclay Goodrow, thinking of Blake Coleman. Sorry, I was mixing
what a
up.
line,
Man,
dude.
they were scrappy.
What a line of those three guys.
Those were honestly the two guys that kind of changed the identity of Lightning going into 2020.
Yanni Gord was the other guy on that line too.
Gord, but he was originally on the team. But it was a great line. I'm with you. But I think that might be one player they're kind of missing. One of those scrappy guys, because they have a lot of young guys filling in that are a lot of skilled guys. Like Connor Sherry's a skilled guy. Barry Boulet. Essimon's pretty scrappy. But those guys are kind of skilled guys, and I think they are lacking maybe one of those scrappy defenders, kind of like, because I think the way Brandon Hagel has made a jump this season into a scorer, but I think we kind of do miss, like, he was kind of that scrappy guy when he originally came to the Lightning, that scrappy defender, get in front of the net, make a skirmish go. So I think we're kind of missing that, so we might try to fill that in with someone at the trade deadline, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Nick Paul is a good example of that. I think he's impressed me a lot, how scrappy he's been. So I think there's a plus side for that. I think him and Hagel can kind of tag team that. But I do agree with you. I think losing Pat Maroon and
Corey Perry was one of those guys,
losing those
too.
two guys,
yeah.
I'm not, like, they weren't, like, great goal scorers or anything, but they just bring that experience and toughness that you don't see all the time and that other teams are not accustomed to. So, yeah,
And
getting somebody like that.
That, like, coaching when you have given up, like, 3 straight goals. Don't worry, kid.
Yeah.
Like, we still have that with, like, Stamkos and Cooch, but it is nice to have that from every voice on the bench.
Corey Perry and Pat Maroon are much more vocal than Cooch and Stamkos. I mean, those are two of the most vocal guys, the Lightning have ever had in the league. You know what I'm saying? So I do think we're missing that a little bit, and it would be nice to see someone step up in that vocal leadership so we can do better at weathering the storm, because that has been probably the biggest problem with the Lightning so far, I think.
The Lightning are at the salary cap right now, so if they were to make a trade at some point, it would probably be for, like how they say it, like a trading card for a trading card. Like, it's going to be somebody on the roster, or we'll have to throw in extra prospects so that the team that we're getting him the player from would pay every penny of his salary. So we've seen it happen before, but it's another one of those situations where it will be a magic trick for the management to bring in a player for the trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. I know Vinnick and the front office
figure it out,
they got some tricks up their sleeve for sure.
They'll figure it out, but hopefully it's enough to fix the problems. But it's not going to be that. It probably won't be that bigger guy that we've had in the years in the past. But then I'm wrong, and I'm like, they did it again. Look at me, I was wrong.
Yeah, but they're always like the Lightning always do something, man. They always do something. They're very active at the deadline, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to maybe hopefully a younger player steps up in that role first, because that would be ideal.
And we got plenty of time.
Yes.
I think, too, one thing I wanted to bring up as well, if anybody's kind of questioning their defense or wondering what's going on, I did hear that they changed up the schematics of it a little bit in the offseason per John Cooper. You normally saw like a man-to-man type defense, and they're going some more zone. So don't get too upset with the defense yet if you think it's a little too sloppy. They're working out the kinks. So we'll see that improve. We'll see that improve a lot going along the way, though. So yeah, I agree. Trade deadline's always exciting, but let's see these young guys step up, and let's see his team develop come January and February and see where this team's at. Because I think they'll be right back to where they've always been.
In this era of Lightning hockey we're in, we know this is the preseason. Like, just crisp up for the preseason. We'll see what happens.
It's 3 seasons. It's really just staying 500 at this point. You just got to stay 500, make your run.
They're going to make their run. And, it feels like a pretty mediocre start for the Lightning. But, they're tied for 5th in the Eastern Conference in points. So they're doing right what they need to be. They're right. They're really right where they need to be, honestly. They're 5-3 and
we couldn't ask for much more. So
4 overtime losses is crazy.
Hey, that's 4 points, guys.
That's the most overtime losses in the league.
Oh, yeah. What is
crazy.
That? We were a part of it. We participated.
Well, it's like
participation reward.
Well, we get those games where we tie it up from coming back. The overtime loss feels like a win, but when you blow the lead, it feels like a loss.
It hurts so much.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
sometimes
it's just that walk-off loss.
Yeah, and
It's
sometimes
like,
you'll
whoa.
hear that they're like, oh, they battled and they earned a point by battling back, and it's like it's good, but when you have that lead, you want to get the full
They
win.
settled for 1
Yeah,
point.
exactly. That's
Well, I
the
cursed
perspective.
them too, so
They're gonna win.
now
one
it's even
soon.
more demoralizing.
They're gonna win one soon. They play Carolina this week. They're winning in overtime. Calling it.
Oh.
We could actually. That's
Well,
a great
yeah.
segue.
Why don't we do some predictions?
Speaking of calling it, as always. So this is crazy.
That wasn't scripted at all.
As always, we locked this in before today's game because we want the best prediction. However, this is crazy, guys. 4 Lightning games this week.
4 games, baby.
Praise the Lord.
Maple Leafs, Canadians, Blackhawks, Hurricanes. 2 on the road to start, 2 at home to finish the week. So 4 games, Joel. What's the record? What are we looking at What happened last week? Yep, that's what I was going at.
May I have 2 wins and 2 losses and a Kucherov goal?
All right, I like it. Yeah, 2 wins. So Joel's locking in 2-2 with the Cooch goal. Last week you said 2-1. They went 1-2.
I thought about
Unfortunately,
being negative last week, but I don't like being negative
and
all the time.
you love being negative. You love being
You
negative.
kind of
It's
like
too
being
much.
negative just a little
You
bit.
sound like my father.
But you said Hagel would score a goal, and he did, a very big one against Seattle. Colby, you said 2-1, and Steven Stamkos, you scored a goal against the Blue Jackets. And I said 2-1 with Cooch. You got me 1 up in Ottawa. So we all get a point. We were wrong on the score, though. Colby, what do you say about this week?
I say that the Lightning are going to go 3-1, so they're winning the rest of the games this week. And Victor Hedman is going to get a goal. Spoiler alert, already happened.
I got my goal too.
Colby has been Mr. Jolly Roger. I'm going to say 2-2. I think I really was hoping they didn't lose to Toronto this week because it's infuriating. I can't stand Toronto at all whatsoever, but it is what it is. I think they can easily beat the Canadiens and the Blackhawks. I think Connor Bedard it's gonna be a welcome to the NHL moment, courtesy of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I am concerned about the Hurricanes. I think they might get their revenge on us. So I'm saying 2-2, and I'm sticking with it. Give me Brandon Hagel. He's gonna get me a goal.
Yeah.
Just before we segue out of this, you can watch your Tampa Bay Lightning. Well, if you're listening right now, the Toronto game already happened. That was on NHL Network. Upcoming road games and the home game against Carolina, they are all 7 o'clock p.m. on Bally Sports if you got it. So that Spectrum should be with it, so make sure to watch your Lightning.
Bally Sports
or-
Plus.
Ugh, I can't stand
I'm
it.
going back.
That's
to
for
Bally
another
Sports
day.
Plus in a
Guys,
second.
have you guys seen the new Bally Sports app update?
Is it good? Did they fix it?
No, it's bad. I don't like it.
Yeah,
dude.
they probably made it worse because
Dude,
they
I
hate
think
me.
I think they did make it worse, man. So, talk to us about how you feel about the Bally Sports app update, because I don't like it. The whole interface is different. It keeps logging me out of my TV provider. They got some kinks. I think there was some people that couldn't even watch the Lightning game. I saw that on Instagram, so that stinks. So I don't know what's going on, but I didn't like the update.
I
But
heard
it's all right.
Bally is going bankrupt, and I
They are.
pray every day that it actually is true, and they get rid of them. We go back to the good old days where we were on Fox Sports Sun. That's how it should be.
Oh, man.
Give us that
Those
back,
were the-
please.
Those were
please.
the good old days, but I don't think Fox Sports is gonna buy back the thing. So I
I
think
wish they did, though.
It might be like a.
Might be its own thing. It might just be
Yeah.
you subscribe
they
to the
might start
Rays.
streaming it soon.
I
Yeah,
think
you
that's
Rays
what
TV, Lightning
yeah,
TV.
That's what I think the Diamondbacks and the Padres did this year because their Bally went bankrupt in the middle of the season. So that's crazy.
I think the Rays Bally's safe because we got all the money up front. Or no, that's
Yeah.
even worse. I apologize. That's worse.
Yeah, that probably is worse. So, yeah, we're going to move on. We're going to talk some college football. And it's a very tight race, but I will say we're going to start off with the USF Bulls. I think they are barely worse than the Gators at this point.
You can't say
But
they're better than the
They-
Gators. You
if
can't do it.
If they had beaten Memphis, I would have given it to them. But they did
Wow.
not. The USF Bulls fall to the Memphis Tigers 59-50 in an absolute shootout in Memphis, Tennessee. So that's a crazy game. Whole lot of not defense. Both teams went for 580 total yards. both of them. So that's almost 600 yards. I think Tigers were at 580, Bulls are at 583, so that is crazy. The biggest difference in this game was USF had 2 turnovers and Memphis had 0. So in a shootout like this, those possessions lost, killed the Bulls, and it ended up being their downfall as they lost by 9 points. Byron Brown with an absolutely fantastic game. He had 357 yards passing, 5 touchdowns through the air, 1 interception, and then also
He had 100 rushing yards.
yes, that was with
and
100
22
rushing
carries,
yards.
yeah.
He did fumble the ball 3 times, only lost it once, but 3 fumbles. Let's put 2 hands on the ball, buddy. Yep, and then Memphis only punted twice the whole entire game, so not a good showing from the USF defense. And yeah, that's about it, man. So tough loss. It's definitely a building block loss. You can't feel bad about it where the program is. So I mean, what do you guys think about this?
It's just I don't understand this. It's like you've seen how good this defense plays, and then this one just makes your head scratch. And you've seen them now. What is it? I'll have to look it up here, but I mean, in their last 4 games, 3 opponents have scored 50 points on them. I mean, goodness sakes. You can't have that, especially when you score 50 points of your own. I don't know how it is even possible to score 50 points and lose a game. You just can't do that. You can't, and we saw one USC defensive coordinator get fired. It's time to see another one because I think Todd Orlando, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Because the teams are playing. You can say Memphis is a solid team. They were 6-2 going in, but you only allowed what, 2 punts? You said 2 punts. Yep. Give me a break, man. And I know there's a lot of good players on the USF defense. That's just, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. Defense has been an issue in all of the Tampa Bay area apparently, and it's no different with the USF Bulls. So I still have faith in this team. There's 3 games left. The Bulls need 2 out of 3. They need 2 out of 3 to get to a bowl game, and we all want to see that. So
I think they're in a good position to do
they
it.
Should. They should, but I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all because you've played teams that you should have beaten, and you give up 50 points.
Yeah.
Like UAB should have been a win. FAU should have been a win.
Mm-hmm.
They beat UConn, which they should have done. Memphis, I don't think – well, actually, I know none of us picked them to win. None of us picked them to win. I think Memphis was a better team. But again, you score 50 points on them. So you're right there. You can compete with these teams. You got to figure it out on defense. You just got to.
It's a good game to go into like at the film room with having scored 50 points. You can say, this is the good thing we did on offense here, here, here. And then with the defensive side, there's a lot to clean up there. So, I mean, this could be a good week for a rebound. Just having that much film, and then you can look at the film for the other team. So it's basically like movie day for the whole week for them.
Yeah,
Movie day.
It concerns me though because I've been a part of locker rooms and I've seen teams where the one side of the ball does really well and the other side doesn't. So this is on Chef Golish. You got to keep that team together.
To be
gotta
fair,
keep them together.
the defense outplayed the offense in their game prior to this one at UConn. So
yeah, but their offense still put up 24. I mean, that's still
20.
decent.
I mean, 24 against UConn, who gave up 59 this weekend to Tennessee, is not that good.
Well, okay, that's
I mean, I'm just saying.
Tennessee to South Florida. We're not there yet.
I'm just saying I do think the defense outplayed the offense. Still was a win. But, yeah, defense has to tighten up. Memphis is a good team. They've been a good team for a while. They've had a good program. They've started by Mike Norvell.
It's very interesting.
He started a very good program there. So, I mean, that's that. I think this is a very easy, should be a winnable game at home against Temple. You got to pull this one out, man. This is a must win if you want to go bowling. It's on ESPN Plus. It's at noon. This is the first time.
Make sure to watch.
Make sure to watch.
Nobody else is conflicting. You got your Gators at 7, Seminoles at 3. So make sure to watch your USF Bulls.
And then I think
Perfect Saturday schedule.
UTSA might be a tough game, but
that's going to be tough.
That's a tough game.
But they can afford to lose.
But if you can hang with Memphis, you can definitely beat UTSA. In my opinion,
You're
I think
right.
Memphis is a
You're
better
right.
team
You're
than
right.
UTSA. Charlotte should be not it.
With Coach Biff?
Let's not take a cakewalk because we've said that before. So Temple and
Charlotte's
Charlotte.
USF, and like USF's a cakewalk.
Temple and Charlotte should be wins. You should be 6-6
Me
at
too.
least, and maybe you pull out 7-5. That would be awesome. That'd be a big win. Friday night football against UTSA. We'll get to that next week. But win this week, USF. Let's go. They're doing it. It's going to be 38-28.
38-28. I like it, Joel. What are you thinking?
They're not going to win this game, but they are. I'm going to be positive. I'll probably not get the point here, but we're going positive. 27-20 Bulls.
All right. I'm going to go with the Bulls too, man. I think they're going to bounce back. Chef Golish has been able to do it all year. I love the way he's leading this program, and I can't say it enough. I just wish he could hear it. I hope you're listening, Chef Golish. We're your biggest fans. We're your biggest supporters. We've been behind you since day one, and don't forget that.
Yeah.
We're always here for you.
Yeah, and I think overall this past week was a good stepping stone for the program. It's a tough win. It's probably the premier team in your conference. It's a tough loss. Sorry. It's the premier team in your conference right now, other than Tulane, but it's one of them. Over the years, it's been the premier team in the American. This is on the road. You scored 50 points. You got outgunned a little bit by a team that's been outgunning people for a while. I mean, Memphis has been playing in these shootout type games for years. I mean, you can look at some of the old American games where you're looking at UCF versus Memphis or Tulane versus Memphis, stuff like that. I mean, these games have been shootouts for years. So Memphis and that program has been used to winning these type of shootouts. USF's just not there right now, but they were hanging in there. This is a stepping stone. But just like we said with Alabama, and they did it, just like we said with Alabama, you have to use the stepping stone to beat an inferior team the next week. You can't take 2 steps forward and then go right backwards, all right?
Exactly
you got to
right.
take this.
Exactly right.
Got to take this and use it positively.
And we were able to see them do that after Alabama.
Yes.
So hopefully that will be the case.
We want to see this again. Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping that history will repeat itself.
And you know me, I love the Bulls. I always pick them. I always root for them. Give me the USF Bulls 35-27. It's going down in Ray J.
There we go.
Make sure to go, man.
Double
12 o'clock.
win at Ray J this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Bulls, Bucks. Come on now.
Please give it to me. There's nothing more magical.
Yep, and speaking of Magic, dead, and sad, let's talk about the Florida Gators. As this Saturday, they started off my terrible weekend by starting the college football slate off right with a heartbreaking overtime loss, 39-36. And this game started off like it ended, terribly, as the Arkansas Razorbacks, who were 2-6 going into the game, got the opening kickoff and marched right down the field and scored a touchdown. And then on the ensuing drive for the Gators, on the first play, on a screen pass to Ricky Pearsall, he got the ball ripped away from him, and Arkansas took that back to the crib, 14-0 Hogs. Now, the Gators did, to their credit, started to settle in as they were able to tie the game 14-14 after the first quarter. Eugene Wilson scored 2 early touchdowns. It was looking like the Gators just had a bad start and they were going to roll out. But the game kind of stalled. Arkansas got a field goal, and so did the Gators before halftime. And at halftime, it was 17-17. And then third quarter was mostly a lull. Arkansas went up 20-17, and then it just got crazy. There was a fumble, and the fourth quarter was back-and-forth action. Teams scoring go-ahead drives back and forth. The Gators could not stop anyone, but their offense got going. Graham Mertz was finding people. Trevor Etienne had some huge plays, but KJ Jefferson was matching them. And KJ Jefferson's a good quarterback on not a really bad team. They've been really unlucky, but they're not a great team. But KJ Jefferson is a really good quarterback.
KJ Jefferson is him, man.
He's really good.
What a dog.
Hard to take down. The Gators found that out because they were just running quarterback draw, and the Gators had nothing for it. And the Hogs were able to tie the game up 33-33 with about 40 or so seconds left. But Graham Mertz has a great drive. He gets the guys down all the way in the field goal range. But when the offense is going to try to spike the ball, for some stupid reason, the field goal team starts to run on the field they then run back, and then the offense spikes it, but the offense has to take a 5-yard penalty, and it just takes away all the momentum. Trace Mack's on. He has not missed many kicks since taking the job, but he pushes this one wide right, and the game's going to overtime. And then the Gators had to settle for 3 after a drop pass in overtime. They go up 36-33, and then the offense, who was not able to stop Arkansas in the fourth quarter, continued doing that in the overtime as Arkansas marched right in there, won it on a game-winning touchdown pass, and the Gators did not pick up this win over a team they should have beat.
Yeah, got to be frustrating if you're a Florida Gator. Got to be very frustrating. I did watch this game, and a couple thoughts from me personally as a non-biased watcher of football. I think they just they frustrate me a lot. Billy Napier frustrates me a lot, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because I felt like towards the end of that third quarter, the Gators really had their way with Arkansas offensively, and defensively they were holding up pretty well on the same time. And I just think, like I've said before, and like I think if you're listening and you're a Gators fan, you know this, they have a really good rushing game. And I think if the Gators would have just taken control in that fourth quarter, pounded the ball down Arkansas's throat, and continued to just kind of slowly, methodically move down the field, I think you choke Arkansas out and they don't have any chance. I think the Gators went into a little bit of a panic mode, and it's like, let's score as quick as we can, have some time, some clock management issues along the way, and then your defense, there was really one play that you couldn't stop, and you made no adjustments to it, and that was the read option quarterback keeper up the middle. That's really all you couldn't get. That's all you couldn't stop, and it's like, come on, you got to figure that out. One play. So, yeah, it was really frustrating fourth quarter if I was a Gators fan, in my opinion, unbiased.
I mean, I'm trying to patent it, Field goals don't win games. So 4 field goals in regulation for the Gators. It's just not going to get it done.
Yeah, and this is a trend. We've seen it before, but the Gators' rushing defense sucks, and they let Arkansas run for 226 yards. This was a team that just fired their offensive coordinator. This is a team that has struggled all year. They scored 3 points on Mississippi State the whole entire game.
Mississippi State only scored 7.
Yeah,
though, too,
it was the worst game of the season.
Defensive battle.
But seriously, 3 points on Mississippi State the entire game, and you let them score 33 on you in regulation. I mean, it's unacceptable. And I know there's some people that are injured. Shamar James is hurt. He's our leading tackler. I know Jack Pyburn got hurt in that game. He's out for the season. But, I mean, you can't let that happen. There's no excuse for that. The rushing defense has to improve. I think it's partly personnel, partly scheme. I think Austin Armstrong has to improve that side of his game. He's pretty good at sending blitzes and on third down, but he's not good at stopping the run on early downs, and it shows. And if you can't stop people on early downs, you're not going to stop people from scoring touchdowns, and that's the truth of it. Graham Mertz had another really solid game. Eugene Wilson is still electric, so I love to see him play. Hopefully the Gators can turn it up so we don't lose all these people that we've worked so hard to bring in. I think this game fully cemented the fact that Billy Napier, first of all, the fact that there's no special teams coordinator at all on the team is absolutely
what?
It's I don't understand it. There's not a set special teams coordinator.
How do you not have one at a D1 program?
There's about 87 coaches on the roster, but none of them are set special teams coordinators. And if you need to cut down and figure out you just need to cut down and have someone do it, because we've seen multiple times this season. Utah, two of the same numbers on the field costing you a first down. You cost yourself 5 yards. And if you watch that kick might would have squeaked in if it was 5 yards closer. And you're costing yourself games because you don't have a special teams coordinator. And also, that's first of all. And also, second of all, you have to hire a play caller. You're way too stretched. You have a good game plan and a good scheme, but you stall out and the offense runs is not creative enough and stalls out multiple times during the game. And when Billy Napier has time, like early in the games, when he's had all week to plan for the script for the first 10 plays of the game, when he has that time and he's not stretched in doing other things to the games, the offense is good. But once you get through the game and he has to call new plays and keep it flowing while coaching the rest of the game, he stalls out. This happens every week. You have to hire an offensive coordinator. You have to hire a special teams coordinator. It's unacceptable. You have to do it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you bring up a great point, too, where it's like, why does he go away from the run game so much? I do not understand that, and it really frustrates me. Because it's like that's your bread and butter, and you just go away from it. And granted, Mertz is a game manager. He's proved a lot of people wrong. But it's like you have the run game. Why don't you utilize it? Why don't you do it?
And Arkansas plays a style of defense which is very bend, don't break. They will give you 5 yards. They'll give you holes up front. They just don't want to make
and they were
beat
moving
them
the
with
ball on them
That's
all
what I'm
throughout the
saying.
fourth
You
quarter.
just have to take that. You showed that you could move the ball all the time, and you got impatient. And there's no reason for that. No reason at all.
That makes sense to you say that he really only has like the first 10 plays of the game planned out. Because I was going to say that they were pretty resilient in the first half, like going down 14-0, then coming back to tied at 14, then they tied at 17 before half. So yeah, it's like they're not really necessarily built right now to survive the second half.
And they had all the momentum ending the first quarter, and in the second quarter they only scored 3 points. You need to, after making a comeback like that, you need to be able to take the lead. I mean, you came back so quick and so easily, there was no reason for you not to take the lead easily. But then you were in a dogfight for the rest of the game, and you just couldn't put them away. And that's what happened, and honestly, you could see the writing on the wall. Just they were not able to put Arkansas away. Every time you thought they could, they just didn't. And I was hoping he'd make that field goal. It was a great drive to get him down there, but there was always just a bad feeling in my stomach the way they weren't able to put him away.
It was so disheartening.
It was, like I said, without those 5 yards, that field goal might have been good. It missed by like 5 yards closer. That might be good. That same.
Yeah, he had plenty of distance.
Yeah,
he really just pulled it a little too far to the right.
He pushed it. Yeah.
One thing though, we talk about Arkansas, and I'm looking at their schedule.
No, they're not a
34-31 loss to LSU. They lost to Ole Miss 27-20, and they lost to Alabama 24-21. So this team isn't a sleeper. I wouldn't. Look, I think Florida should have won. They were the better team, but I wouldn't say Arkansas is some terrible team. Is it time to hit the panic button now? Is it time to hit the panic button because you got 3 games left, and you are still 1 win shy of a bowl game?
Panic button. I don't think it's the right word because that would be implying you're changing something, but. You gotta get a win. They're tough games, but you have a talented roster. You can go. LSU and Missouri are both coming off losses this weekend. I know it's on the road, but you have to find out a way to figure out and win a game. You have to find something within you if you're Billy Napier and the Gators to win a game and go bowling because you're not going to hear the end of it if you go 5-7. Even though. They really need to win this game to kind of go into this tough stretch on a high note, and they just
have the bowl game to look forward to. This is why I'm saying panic isn't. You guys might not make a bowl game at this point.
No, I
think they're all right.
If I was a betting man, if I was a betting man,
oh, okay.
If I was an unbiased betting man, I think I would bet the Gators not to win any of their games, but. It's 3 games. All you need is 1. It'd be nice to get it this weekend and get it over with. That would be a great way to bounce back and get the monkey off your back. For sure.
Don't worry, Gators fans. In a couple weeks, you're going to hear a headline in the news along the lines of something like this. There were some Gators that ate a couple Tigers.
Oh, back-to-back Tigers? Because we got LSU and Missouri.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Dude, that would be awesome.
College football name sharing.
I know. Well, especially the SEC. Way too many Tigers
I
in
didn't
the SEC.
Which Tigers?
Missouri or LSU? Which Tigers do you think?
You'll find out when I give my score.
Okay, yes, right. But the Tigers that the Gators are playing this weekend is the LSU Tigers. They're headed into Death Valley for a night game. LSU is coming off a loss to Alabama. Florida's obviously coming off a loss to Arkansas. There's a couple of defensive players that are hurt right now.
You're good. Keep going.
There's a couple of defensive players that are hurt right now for the Gators. Jalen Daniels went into concussion protocol at the Alabama game.
Yeah, that's a little scary if you're LSU.
So, yeah, we don't know the status of him.
And they're banged up in their secondary as well. Their defense has a couple issues. But how do the Gators slow down this high-scoring LSU offense? What are the keys for Florida's defense? Is there anything that you think?
The keys is to stop the run game. I know that stop the scheme. Will, you're the defensive lineman. Everyone on the line crashes in diagonally on the defensive line, if that makes sense.
That would be like a pinch.
But it's like the three people on the defensive line are all collapsing in.
All inside, not going right?
No, they're going right. They're going right or left, all to the one side.
So slant, usually that's based off of strength. If like the tight end's on one side, there's usually certain tendencies that an offense gives where the ball's going based on how they line up in the backfield, if it's 11 or 10 personnel. So usually if they're all slanting one way, that means that they see a tendency that the ball's going that way on a run play. Now you really need somebody, however, though, who is a solid outside linebacker who can have backside contain on that, because if they run a counter or play action boot, you need somebody in their face right away or you're giving up 20 to 30 yards.
So the Gators run that slant a lot. That is a tendency they do. And the play that they've gotten beat on, that Kentucky ran over and over, Georgia ran it. And, I mean, now the read option is kind of like a counter to the way you run that motion. When they're slanting,
makes sense why they got beat by it, because they're all going to the running back.
When they're slanting, they're getting beat on the run. So I think Austin Armstrong needs to change his approach, maybe do a little bit different, maybe stunt some defensive linemen, keep inside contain, outside contain, especially because you have two linebackers hurt right now. So your backside tackling is not going to be good. So I think that's a key, is change kind of your approach up front to make sure that the run game is better stopped, because especially if it's a backup quarterback. And, I mean, obviously, Jalen Daniels is a dual-threat quarterback. I think he's just as good with his legs as he is with his arms.
He's dangerous with his legs,
So if you make him a thrower, you have a chance to slow them down. And LSU's defense is not good, so I think Florida can have their way with that defense on offense.
Yeah, I think from watching LSU earlier in the year, I think the Gators need to generate a good pass rush. I really think that's the biggest issue. If you can keep Jalen Daniels
they did good this game. They had 4 or 5 sacks.
They sacked him a lot. I think when we go back to read options and things like that, it wouldn't necessarily be on the D-line, in my opinion, especially with Arkansas. I think that's normally when you play a team that's read option, everybody has an assignment. So either a D lineman will have the quarterback or running back, and the linebacker will have vice versa, because they're reading one of those guys. It might be a DN, it might be your middle linebacker. So I think Gators have to be more disciplined, especially at linebacker, because somebody had that quarterback in that game. Somebody had.
We were missing Shamar James. He hurt himself before the warm-ups against Georgia, and that ended up being like a season-ending kneecap injury. So we missed him. We were kind of rotating that second linebacker for us, and we were trying to plug and play, see who works. And I think they just got a little bit, the eye candy, it was too much for them. So
yeah, so you got to play discipline. And I think back to my point with Jalen Daniels, I think we've seen that he is the most acceptable when he's kept in the pocket. He can't scramble, and he starts to chuck the ball. He starts to force it a little bit or take some big hits. That guy takes some big hits, and he's done it all year. It's kind of crazy. This is the first game he's gone out, because I think he could have gone out in 100 other plays. So, yeah, you got to keep him in the pocket if you're the Gators defense. But if you let this guy run all over you and you let him make plays with his feet, it's going to be a long day for the Gators. So they have to keep him in the pocket. They have to.
Agreed.
Joel, what are you thinking for this game? Is this the Tigers? The Tigers you're talking about?
You must wait one more second. So this week, the headline you're going to see is Tigers have eaten the Gators. This is going to be quite the game, in my opinion. I'm going big boy. I'm going 51-20 LSU.
Oh, my goodness, Joel. All right. Man.
So, okay, well, now you have to say that the Missouri Tigers win next week.
Hey, you have to wait till next week to find out.
You just dropped the headline.
I've implied it.
Hey.
Look, I think, again, The Gators.
Here's why I say this: LSU has been putting up some serious points this season, and it's on decent teams. So.
And Florida's been letting up some serious points this season. So.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on the Gators' defense. I think they've had moments of brilliance throughout the season, but other times it's been pretty lackluster. And with that being said, I just think even if Jalen Daniels isn't 100%, I just think this offense is too high-powered for the Gators right now, especially with injuries on their defense, as Colby mentioned. So I'm going to say LSU wins this 45-20.
Yeah.
You got to sprinkle a couple field goals
I
in there,
can't
man.
lie. There's one field goal, 2 field goals.
45?
Yeah,
There's
45 's
3
one
field goals
goal.
in that game.
Yeah.
And the Gators got 2.
My math for football is not great.
I must say, I'm pretty done with the Gators right now. I was pretty disgusted by that loss. I was really disheartened, and then my heart was ripped all away again by the Bucs. So, if Jalen Daniels doesn't play, this is different. But I have no reason to think he won't because he's a tough guy in his last season. He wants to end on a high note, maybe get in a New Year's Six Bowl. But I mean, this is a game Brian Kelly could lose, but I don't think he will. I'm gonna say LSU wins this game, 42-35.
42-35. That would be a fun game. That would
I
be
mean,
a fun game, and I would
I think
enjoy it.
I like
Florida's
my
gonna-
games close.
I think Florida's gonna put up some points. LSU's defense is not good.
Yeah, their defense we've seen isn't that good. So, yeah, it could be a shootout. It really could be. But I think it's time we have to save the best for last. As we do, there is a hierarchy on the TB3 podcast. So now we bring you to the number 4 ranked 2022 Sunshine State champions, 2022 Cheez-It Bowl champions in Orlando, Camping World Kickoff champions versus the LSU Tigers. This is your Florida State Seminoles. Can they lose? I don't think so. They're now 9-0 on the year, and they have clinched a spot in the ACC Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina for the first time since 2014. And they got it done by beating the Pitt Panthers, Pittsburgh University. They don't even have their own stadium. What a shame that is for...
On the telecast, they asked a trivia question. They were like, what teams play in an NFL stadium?
Yeah.
And yeah, USF
I was like,
Bulls were on
Bulls,
there.
Bulls.
The announcer
I was
like,
screaming
the
Bulls.
announcer was like, I know one of them because I live in Miami. I was like, oh, he knows
Yeah,
the Tampa
Bulls
one,
in
too.
her... I was like...
I passed Hard Rock
It's-
this weekend, bro.
It's
Beautiful on the
looking
outside.
beautiful. Yeah, it's funny because I make fun of like Miami for not having a stadium, but then it's like USF doesn't, and it's kind of like
USF is not Miami. Miami has no excuse.
USF
Yeah,
is
that's
the victim,
true.
I'd say.
That
Some of the-
yes.
Some of the bigger ones, it's like, yeah, it's all right.
I like them in Ray J. I like it. Anyways, we're back to Pitt, and Florida State was without their top 2 receivers, probably future first-round draft picks. That is Johnny Wilson, number 14, transfer from Arizona State, and number 4, the sensation. I really think he should be in Heisman talk. He's been making plays all year. Number 4, Michigan State transfer, Keon Coleman. They were without them both, and Florida State struggled a little bit. This game was scoreless after the first, 10-7 into halftime. Florida State leading by 3, but Florida State, they are just dogs. They would run away with it in the third quarter and kind of dominate the rest of the game. Didn't need to score a whole lot because they were shutting down Pitt. And they win 24-7. Jordan Travis, 360 yards in the air and 1 touchdown. That extends like 27 games with a touchdown pass for Jordan Travis, so he's breaking records. Trey Benson, 100 yards with a touchdown on the ground. So, yeah, I think you can talk about how Florida State struggled. I get it. You can say this was a close loss, and maybe it was frustrating because, granted, it was. It was very frustrating to see how Florida State played at times. But they found a way to win, and they didn't allow a single point in the second half. And you look at it, you go, oh, well, they only scored 24. Well, they went for it on one series in the red zone and didn't get it, so they lose a field goal. And then also, they had first and goal with time expiring at the end of the game. They didn't need to score. They just took a knee. So that's about 10 points that they left on the board that they should have scored. And you go, okay, yeah, without Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, you're probably not going to get as many points as you'd normally score. So that's understandable. They're still just so dominant on defense, and we've seen it every time. Second half, they just figure it out. They figure it out, and I think a lot of times you would say, well, it's kind of concerning that Florida State plays bad in the first half. Well, do they? They were still leading at halftime. They still scored 10 points and answered right away when Pitt scored. And the second half, they don't allow any. So no matter what we look at LSU, they struggled in the first half. They're only down by 3. And we know what happened at the end of that game. And we've seen it time and time again.
It makes for exciting football.
It makes for exciting football, but I just think people talk about how bad they've been playing in the first half. Well, not really. They're still scoring points. Well, the difference really has been how well their defense has shut out opponents in the second half. And I think that's gone unnoticed by some of the CFP voters and a lot of media. Another thing, too, that was kind of big, the Pittsburgh Panthers threw a touchdown pass on Florida State. Well, you know the last time that happened was September. The Florida State Seminoles did not allow a single passing touchdown in the month of October.
That is amazing.
This defense is so good, and I feel like people need to start talking about it because we know the offense. We know Jordan Travis is electric, and he can make plays. He can burn you. But we also have to talk about this defense. They completely shut teams out in the second half. We've seen it all year. And now I think we're finally getting close. There's 3 games left in this season, but I really think this team is dangerous. This team is dangerous. I've been believing in them all year. But even in a game like this, you just see how much they dominate their opponents. It might not look pretty at the end of the day, but you look at the big picture, you look at how the defense plays, and you look at how the offense plays, it's like a boa constrictor. They will just choke you out. You cannot go 4 quarters with this team. They're built for winning, and Mike Norvell has done such a great job. And he showed it again without his top 2 receivers, who, again, are first-round picks.
Switching out the linemen is clutch. Like, I never really thought about how smart that is. They are fresh in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
It's like hockey.
Yeah, he does a lot of things that keep those guys fresh. You have to talk about their conditioning, too, because you look at even against Duke. I mean, that Duke defense is so good, and they were gassed playing against Florida State. They were gassed, and Florida State had the foot on the gas, and they were not letting up. So I just think it's time to take this team a lot more serious than number 4. I'm getting more confident every single week I watch this team, and I love it. I'm so happy. I'm super excited about the ACC championship, man. It's been too long. It has been way too long.
FSU Clemson?
No, I don't think Clemson. I think they lost too many ACC games. I think it probably will be Louisville.
Ooh,
I think it will
that'd be
be
fun.
Florida State and Louisville, and that could be a tough game. That could be a tough game. But I just still think Florida State, their defense has been the unsung heroes, and they'll smother you. They'll smother you, and that's what they've done all year.
Yeah.
Is Cole and the other guy, are they going to be back this week?
Yeah, I think what they were doing is they were looking at Pitt. They're not a great team. And I hate when you do that because I still think it doesn't matter who you play.
Any given Saturday.
Any given Saturday, yeah. But I think they were resting them for Miami. So they're both 100% for Miami. It's rivalry week, part 1. Put the U down. That's what we all like to see. We hate Miami, and it's in Doak Campbell Stadium. It's going to be rocking. It should have been a night game. Miami got lucky, but it's going to be 3:30.
3:30 games are electric too, man.
Night games in the Doak.
They are. But
Me and Joel
3:30 's
know
good.
that firsthand. Night games in the
Night
Doak.
games are awesome.
Yeah, but hey, 3:30 you can still get electric. Here's
3:30 is better than noon.
before we start moving ahead, I want to just move back and talk about.
tailgating.
I want to talk about Finchell Cypress because he made one of the best hustle plays I've seen in a while, where he chased down a Pitt receiver, about to score. He was on the red zone. He was about to get in the end zone. He ripped the ball away, They both fall. Pinto Cypress gets back up, comes back out of bounds into the end zone, and recovers the fumble he ripped away. It wasn't one of those deals where it went out the back of the end zone where you punch it. He had to recover his own fumble. And the dude, I mean, it was a touchdown. It should have been a touchdown, but the sign of a great team is the way you hustle. Even when you're a big-time corner, you transferred, and you're still doing everything you can for the team to win. So that was impressive to me. That was one of the most impressive things I saw all weekend. It was a heck of a play, man. So I just wanted to bring it back to that play because it was amazing.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm about the Seminoles and Fentrell Cypress, man. They got him from Virginia, one of their best players, one of the ACC defensive back, one of the best ACC defensive backs of the year. I don't know if he won the award or was nominated, but he was up there. And I've talked about this before. It's championship effort. It's plays like that that shows you that this team is poised to win, and they want to win. They have that championship effort. They are doing the extra stuff because it was a blown coverage, and you could have easily just jogged and gone, oh, man, we blew it there. But the effort it took to run down that receiver and pop the ball out right at the goal line and to hop on it yourself, I mean, that is textbook championship effort, and you see it throughout the entire team.
And that was early on
has done
in the
a great
game,
job.
right?
That was early on, and I wasn't scared by any means, but they would have been down.
It was a good tone setter.
I think they would have been down 7-0, and they ended up being down 7-0 anyway. So it is what it is.
That's 14's a lot different than 7-0.
I'm saying at the time.
I know. I'm just
changed
saying
up.
though, if that was 7-0, and
Yeah,
then they went back and scored again, it could have been 14.
Yeah,
And I know
you're
you're in the Knowles and your second half comeback guys, but 14-0 is still a lot, especially when you're on the road on a game you should win easy. But that's all right. We talked about it. It's a big game. It's a rivalry that, it used to be big time. It's kind of on the downward decline. I don't know where it's going to be when all this conference.
Not because of Florida State, because Miami stinks.
Well, there's a couple years where they both stank. But Miami's been bad for years. Miami's been really bad. FSU's only been bad for 5-10 years, and they're coming back
under the Willie Taggart era.
Willie Taggart did not do anything good for FSU, but that's okay. They're back. FSU's back. Miami is not back, and I don't think they're anywhere close to being back. So for that reason, and because it's a home game and it's the big FSU game, they want to make a statement. I think they will make a statement, and I think FSU is going to win 41-24. I think Miami is a good enough team to keep it in striking distance. 41-24.
My score is similar to that. I'm going to say 34-23.
Tight one. Because Miami's going to come out firing too. Everyone's
I'm holding one touchdown off the board.
Everyone's coming out fired up for a rivalry game at both sides. Not saying Miami's going to take it.
Yeah, but is Miami going to come out and take it? Because we look at last year, Florida State beat them 45-3.
Well, that might be more for them to come out and try to win.
I think Miami, they're down in the dumps. They've lost to the Wolfpack. And this Florida State team, they are 3 games away from being unconquered for the regular season, and they're going to get it done. They're going to be ready to go. Miami stands no chance for this Florida State team. Florida State wins this game 45-10. 45-10, Florida State wins.
All right, I think before we jump into these games, I think we should recap our college football playoff. Before we get to games, we did a little fun thing with the college football CFP vote because there's always something wacky in the first one. We decided to go to pick it. It ended up being Ohio State at 1, Georgia at number 2, Michigan at number 3, and Florida State 4. So let's see how we did. Joel, would you like to know how you did?
I did really bad.
You went 0 for 4, unfortunately. You had Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Florida State 3, and Washington 4. Colby, would you like to know how you did?
I think I did all right.
You really did. You were very close. You just mixed the first 2. You had Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, but you had a feeling Ohio State was going to be high up there, so that almost would be a point.
I know.
But I can't do it.
You can't do it,
for the sake of the points. But you did get Michigan at 3 and Florida State at 4 correct. I was 1 for 4, guys. You know me. I'm the pick god around here, but I only got Georgia at number 2, so Yeah, Colby, you win that. You got 2 out of 4.
I needed that. It gave me a point back that I needed because I didn't go too far.
It's big, and at the end of the episode, you'll find out the standings.
Yeah,
Maybe something changed.
Oh, it's tight.
Who knows?
Oh,
it's
tight,
getting
boys.
close.
All right, so this Saturday was a packed slate of college football. Like we said, you needed to wipe your slate off and just watch some football on the couch. And it started off with a really good noon slate. We already talked about that wretched Gator game. But we're also going to talk about Ohio State struggling at Rutgers. Bucs legend Greg Schiano putting up a good coaching game. Ohio State was down 9-7 at halftime. They were able to pull away and win 35-16. But this Ohio State team, man, I know they have the best resume, but I do not think they're the best team. I don't think they've shown it other than maybe that Penn State game in the fourth quarter. But I just don't think they're consistent enough to be the number one team. I think they will drop in this week's rankings. I think Georgia should be there. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll help cement your catchphrase, Joel. Kicking field goals does not win you games, and Rutgers was moving the ball really well on Ohio State, but they could only come away with 9 points, and they were on the goal line every single one of those drives, and you just think if you could have capitalized with some touchdowns there, could have been a whole different ball game. I think another thing changed on that questionable hit that forced an interception there that Ohio State was able to turn back. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I think that probably should have been targeting, and I think that play was huge, and it turned the tide for Ohio State.
93-yard pick six. I did not see the play. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not see the play, so I cannot comment on this. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would take a look at some point. I think it was targeting straight up. I don't like targeting in general because it's so ticky-tacky, but it's neither here nor there. I still think that was targeting, and I think Rutgers got a little hosed there. I don't think they would have won the game, but yeah, that really changed the tide for Ohio State, and you never know. You never know. But Ohio State, they're not number one. They're not. We knew that. They'll lose to Michigan, maybe.
That looked targeting to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He went with the shoulder. He was the offenseless receiver. I think that could have been targeting for sure. But, you know, when you're the number one team, sometimes you get away with stuff like that. And that's
Maybe
true.
So.
That's true.
Number one team for half, not even a week.
Yeah, I think they will get dropped to probably 2.
Yeah, probably 2 or 3.
I don't know, though. They just made the rankings. They wouldn't be like, sorry, we're wrong.
They change. They go crazy at the ESPN ones. They're always wild.
All right.
Yep, and then we'll move on. I think, unless you got something, Joel.
Nope.
All right, I'm going to move on to a crazy game as the Texas Longhorns barely stave off a huge Kansas State comeback as Texas was up 27-7 and let the Wildcats come all the way back to tie it 30-30 at the end of regulation. But a Kansas State missed field goal in overtime led to a Texas Longhorns win 33-30.
Yeah, well, you know how Wait, didn't they go for it instead of kicking the field goal?
Yes, they did. You're right. I'm sorry. They went for it on 4th and goal. It was, like, from the 7. It was questionable to me, especially because they had
it was very questionable. You know how I feel about the Big 12, though, regardless. I don't think they deserve a spot until that whole conference gets better defense. I will always advocate against the Big 12 getting into the CFP. But Texas is lucky. They are real lucky because that loss would have booted them out for sure.
To be fair to Texas, this loss would have been on the fact that they had a backup quarterback and he made some really inexperienced bad mistakes, like lobbing the screen being taken away and he just lobs one to the Kansas State receiver.
You can't blow it though. It's 27-7.
No, I know, but he had a couple, like there was a couple turnovers and they were on him. So I do think Texas still has a legit shot for the playoff. They are the last hope for the Big 12 this year after what Oklahoma did.
Yes.
So Texas has to win out, and they have to win out convincingly. This was a ranked win for them, to be fair to them. But Texas, I don't know, I know Texas, did they play Oklahoma State? Let me look. Texas does not have Oklahoma State.
They're
Honestly, I think they would have liked to have Oklahoma State for their resume.
Do they have Texas Tech?
They do have Texas. Last Black Friday, Texas.
That's an easy loss for
It's
Texas.
at home though. It's at Texas though.
Texas Tech is good for nothing other than beating Texas when it matters.
That is really
That's
true.
all they are good for.
Texas has a big game coming up at TCU this week, so maybe TCU
And that's the night game too. Unfortunately, that's
Yeah,
that's an ABC primetime game.
They kind of whacked up the schedule. So
Should have been Florida State, Miami.
That's
Should have been.
That's not even a question.
I mean, I don't know.
I think even LSU and the Gators would have been good.
I'm sure the Texas game would get better ratings though, just from all the Texas.
Maybe,
people.
but I think they'll blow out TCU.
They don't put SEC on ABC anymore, or right now. They will next year, but I don't think SEC gets any ABC games. But yeah, we'll move on. Escape for Texas. You got to look better. Ole Miss barely escapes Texas A&M.
Instant classic, man. That was
Yes,
a good
that
game.
was
I
a
don't know
really
if you were
good game.
watching.
I missed it because that was a packed noon slate, man.
Packed noon slate on
Good.
Saturday.
That's good for football. Yeah, Ole Miss, they're going into Georgia this weekend, so you're going to have to play better defense against Georgia if you want to pull off this upset. That's a night game. That's a 7:30 game, so that should be a fun one.
Georgia's been squeaking out these wins, so like any of these games. Could
When we get to the Colby's hot picks, we'll we'll talk about.
Yeah,
that.
and then another noon game, crazy. Dabo finally gets his big win against Notre Dame, 31-23. Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, rough game for him. Unfortunately,
he threw like 3 picks or something.
Yeah, rough game, man. He's 0-5 now against Clemson in his career, dating back to Wake Forest. So he just cannot solve that mystery. And Notre Dame, man, they played a hard schedule and they're paying for it. So that stinks for them.
All right, does that make Florida State's win a little bigger in your eyes?
It has to a little bit. I mean, it just depends. Clemson, you want Clemson. Maybe they have Georgia Tech, which that's an even week, isn't it?
But Georgia Tech won this week on an odd week.
They ruined it.
They ruined the streak.
Then Clemson also has North Carolina and South Carolina. So Clemson is
they
5
could
and
actually
4.
get some big wins.
So you want Clemson to get 8-4 and sneak into the top 25. That would be a good look for FSU at the end.
It's true.
Which, if they're undefeated, it doesn't matter. They control their own destiny for the playoff for sure.
Yeah,
Texas,
but
a team like Texas doesn't. A team like Oregon doesn't. But a team like FSU. Yeah, FSU, Washington, Georgia, and Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan, they all control their destiny, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think
I get scared.
There's
though.
nothing that
Washington, they'll probably lose Washington, but if they don't, they're.
I just get scared
we'll
they'll find a way to
that
boot
was
FSU out.
Great game. So they had packed noon slate. Love that for college football. But then we moved to the 3:30 slate. Our nation's heroes, Air Force, unfortunately lost to Army to lose their first game. Good for Army. But Air Force, man, brutal, man. That pretty much takes them out of New Year's 6 contention. I think Tulane is probably in a good spot for that. So it sucks, man.
This is why I hate the ESPN CFP rankings because they were 17 in the AP poll, and then ESPN puts them at 25.
Well, it's not ESPN. That's the college football playoff committees.
Yeah, but it's like a bunch of celebrities. Like it's just a bunch of randos.
It's the committee. It's the actual committee. They do the rankings.
Yeah, but the committee's like celebrities, dude.
No, it's
randos.
It's athletic directors.
Yeah, but the AP poll is more accurate. They had the Air Force at 17.
I don't know. I think I like the CFB poll better. Because
They're too
wacky. No, because the AP does the week 1 poll, and even though they shouldn't do a week 1 poll, they always base it off where they were to start. And I think having the college football playoff poll start in the middle of the season makes it more accurate in my eyes. And that's what they go off at the end of the year. But I do
but they
agree.
didn't even rate James Madison either, and they look unbeatable.
Yeah, they kind of are hating on the mid majors. So it depends. You never know with these college football playoff ranking guys. And then we mentioned it. Georgia did win another close game against a really good Missouri team.
Another classic game.
A really good game. A bad interception by the big fella at the towards the end of the game.
Big D lineman getting a pick for Georgia.
That sealed the game for him. Missouri could have gone down and scored, but unfortunately, they just didn't make enough plays. This was not Brady Cook's best game, I'd say. He struggled. Georgia's a really good defense, man. So it's hard to do good against Georgia's defense. Missouri's defense honestly played better than I thought they would, considering the way they played against LSU. So that's a good sign for them. But I mean, this pretty much kind of clinches Georgia as the SEC East champion, which is not surprising. But this was the game for the SEC East. So
yeah,
it was a
I'm
good
starting
game,
to
at
fear
least.
Georgia. I really am because I thought early on they were beatable and Carson Beck looked iffy. And then you get to this game, and Missouri probably played the best game of their season and really played great against Georgia. I know not Carson Beck. I know Cook struggled, but that's because Georgia's defense is good. That's why I'm concerned because I think they took it to them that much and still lost by 9 points.
I don't think they
just because of how good Georgia's defense is.
By no means did they play bad, but I've seen Missouri's offense be electric. Like those receivers they have.
But against who, though, is what I'm saying. Like, this is Georgia.
I mean, against LSU, and then against Kansas State. We just saw them take. We just saw them take Texas to a good game. I mean, Kentucky has a stingy defense, so I've seen Missouri's offense play better than that. Partly. Georgia, you got to give credit to Georgia. Really good defense. I saw that firsthand against Florida last week, but I do think Brady Cook was a little bit inaccurate, and I've seen him be more accurate. So I don't think it was Missouri's best game, but it was not a bad game.
For me, I just think it shows Georgia's defense is that good.
I agree.
That's what scares me. And that they've kind of figured it out on offense.
They have rounded
I think it would be an exciting nail biter if FSU went up against them.
I don't want to play him in the play. Like, I don't want to play him in
would that be
the first round. Yeah, if it ended today, it would be. No. It actually would have been Ohio State, so that'd be perfect. I'll play Ohio State.
I think Georgia's
I'll take that easy.
Like, the road goes through them.
I would like preferably Ohio State or Michigan to be the first game. And then play Georgia.
I think FSU, honestly, I think you would feel good about anyone other than Georgia. Like, I think Washington FSU would be
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying anybody but Georgia for the first game.
Yeah, I agree.
And then play Georgia in the Natty.
I agree. The last bedlam for who knows how long because of the conference realignment, which sucks. I hope they find a way to get that game played every year. That's one of the, really, rivalries that's going to hurt that we're going to miss next year. It's a lot of them, they've done a good job keeping them, but this one is not going to be able to be played, at least for a couple of years, kind of like Texas A&M and Texas. But Oklahoma State kind of put it in Oklahoma's face because they're the ones leaving and won 27-24. A couple questionable calls in this game, but good win for Oklahoma State, man.
Yeah, I like Mike Gundy, Mr. Mullet Man. I'm a man. I can take it. If you guys remember that back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't done a whole lot at Oklahoma State outside of winning a lot of games each year, but not really getting over the top. But he is good at one thing, is beating Oklahoma. He's done it a lot, and I like it. It's a good sticking it to them. They're leaving for the SEC. They think they're better. And you know what? Rest in peanuts, Oklahoma. See you later. If you're listening, you're an Oklahoma fan. I don't care at all. Maybe next year, guys. Maybe next year. But we all know, definitely not. See you later. Oklahoma's done. They're not going to the CFP. And all is well in the world.
Yeah, they're out. For sure. They're out. So, good riddance, Oklahoma. Texas is the last hope for the Big 12. And they need some help, honestly. But we'll move on to the night slate, which was, I saw the meme, the absolute cinema meme, because we had LSU, Alabama, and Washington, USC going on at the same time, and it was amazing.
There was great games all day, and it just ended perfectly. It really did.
I'll start with the Washington, USC game because, man, two maybe Heisman frontrunners, at least two of the top 4 or 5, went back and forth as Michael Penix and Caleb Williams put on a show. And, Washington's just a little bit more well-rounded team. They got a couple stops, a huge strip sack from a dude who lost his father, really recently. And I saw that was a really great moment.
That's a tearjerker.
Yeah, that was a tearjerker. The way the coach was hugging him was, it really got me, man. I was like, what's going on? And then I heard them talking about it, and I was like, oh, man, that's so good for him. Michael Penix, actually, not a crazy game, man.
He had some elite. Both of them had elite throws.
On fourth
Michael
down,
Penix had a crazy one though, rolling out.
Yeah. But Caleb Williams had one across his body too.
That one was good too. I think they were both
high level quarterback play. And then Washington had a man go for 256 yards on the ground. USC. Woo! We fired Alex Grinch. They is gone.
About time.
Finally, for the love of Jesus, your defensive coordinator's gone. Maybe USC next year will be able to get something going because that dude was not good at his job. Dude, he made millions.
Okay, I loved the game, and I loved seeing two offenses just throwing punches, throwing haymakers back and forth the whole game. But it actually was so frustrating to the point where I was just rooting for USC to get a negative play on defense. Just get one, a TFL or a sack. I don't understand. It It would have been better if you had nobody out there and they were just throwing routes on air and run the ball in air for Washington, because it was just baffling. Just baffling. Like, I think they needed a stop there because, what was it, USC, did they go? Yeah, I think they punted it away and they needed a stop. And then Washington runs a pitch, and there's like 6 guys on USC right there. And the running back runs for like 70 yards. Like, you're right there. It's like they're just ghosts. He was running through ghosts. I mean, it was just so frustrating how bad their defense really is. And I feel bad for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, in my opinion, this was more good offense than bad defense, but it was not good defense either. Like, it was a lot of bad defense.
Great offense, USC's defense in particular was just bad.
Yeah.
Just bad. I think USC's offense was better than Washington's defense, no matter what Washington did. I mean, Caleb Williams, he really could be the truth. He really could be the way he's been slinging the ball. But yeah, USC's defense, man, just couldn't tackle. Just had guys wide open. Did you see that one play with Lincoln Riley cooked up?
The flea flicker?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful play,
I had
man.
to shout it out because that was just beautiful.
Do you see it, Joel?
No.
It was like a pitch in front, and the running back ran outside, then ran back inside, and then pitched it back to Caleb Williams, and they got a touchdown off it.
Yeah, what's cool about, because you usually see in flea flickers, it's usually like an I formation. The quarterback hands it off, the running back gingerly jogs, and then pitches it back, and it's a quick throw.
Wasn't there a flea flicker in the Bucs game?
The Bucs tried one, right?
They tried, and Baker Mayfield threw it into coverage.
Good field.
But yeah, this one was a little different because he calls a receiver in motion to the backfield, hands it off to the receiver, almost like a jet sweep, and he takes it out and stops, and you go, oh, man, like that was just a terrible play. They're going to lose like 7 yards on this. And he runs back in and pitches it back. Receiver's wide open, like literally booty cheeks wide open.
Gorgeous.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. It was an amazing play. So, yeah, and then the other game, LSU and Alabama was going toe-for-toe through about 3 quarters, but Jalen Milroe was too much as he scored 4 times on the ground, ran for 155 yards, and also threw for 200 yards. Really good game from him. The offenses went toe-to-toe, and Bama's defense, which we knew was better, tightened up in the 4th quarter, and Alabama won this game 42-28. And Jalen Daniels also got hurt.
Yeah,
Dude, I always mess up, dude. Jaden, sorry.
Jaden Milroe, he impressed me.
Sorry, wait. It's Jaden Daniels,
Jalen
Milroe.
Jalen Milroe impressed me a lot, actually. He really did. He looked best game of the year so far for him.
He's getting better and better, honestly.
He's getting better, and Alabama's becoming a little bit scary. But I just don't know.
They got to beat Georgia.
Brian Kelly never plays well in big games. He never gets his team right.
I would actually be rooting for Alabama in that game.
No, I do not want to see Alabama in it. I don't. I still remember what happened against USF. I was sitting in the stands, and I do not want to see them get lucky and get to the playoff.
It'd be kind of cool.
It wouldn't.
I'd rather see Alabama than Georgia all day long.
I sincerely like Georgia, so it would hurt a little bit. But
I hate Georgia.
I just don't forget, USF fans. You know how Alabama is. Don't forget it.
Okay, that was like their backup quarterback. I know. It was,
I won't forget it. I won't forget what I saw.
Maybe it was just great USF game, man. Give the boys some credit.
I won't forget what I saw. Alabama doesn't deserve it. Georgia, you better take care of business.
All right.
That's true. It's like I didn't know there was transplant college football fans here too. It's like, gosh, how many of these people are there?
They probably traveled in though. It's kind of how it goes.
I'm sure there was.
But
a lot
yeah, Colorado lost to Oregon State.
I watched
offensive
that game.
line
Went to bed at
terrible.
halftime. I'm surprised Colorado made it as close as they did.
It wasn't. They scored a touchdown late.
Garbage time, yeah.
They scored a touchdown late, and they tried onside kick, which wasn't going to happen.
The fighting Arizona Wildcats upset UCLA. I called this. I was all over it. Arizona's a good team, man. Look out for them next year with their quarterback.
Yeah, and speaking of that, they play Colorado, and I think that's it for CU. They're not going to make a bowl game. It really sucks.
That's
I like
crazy.
Coach Prime, but
that was a downhill blunder.
Everybody expected him to do bad.
You know what it was,
apparently,
man? They should not have lost that Stanford game. That was the day
That really hurt
That was
them.
the day they were not going to make.
But
a bowl
they
game.
still would need one more game, and I don't think they're going to get
I think
it.
Washington State's a game they can win, and I still think they can win the Arizona game because it's at home at Colorado. But it's going to be a tough game.
Just with how bad their offense plays, I don't think so.
Arizona's defense though is not as good.
Yeah, but
as the other
Stanford's
ones.
good.
Well, Stanford was just a blunder of choke.
Yeah,
was a
but they
choke
shut
job.
CU completely down in the second half.
That's true. Yeah,
I fell for the hype. I was like, they might be a one-loss
Well,
team.
they got hyped, but then everybody hated on them and said they weren't going to win more than 4 games, and now they seem to be right.
Hey, Deion Sanders, thank you for firing your offensive coordinator. I hope he becomes the Florida Gators offensive coordinator. That was a bad decision. It was your first really bad decision as a coach. It was so obvious.
Well, they didn't fire him. He's on the team. He doesn't call the plays.
Oh, they demoted him.
Yeah, he's still on the team.
I did not see. Media tricks you. Because I saw fired like multiple times. So, hey, well, I guess he's still there. Hopefully, I'm assuming he'll be gone at the end of the season, though. So, that's how that goes. Big Pac-12 at night was great. We're going to look ahead to this weekend as there's few big games. The biggest game is at noon as we got Michigan versus Penn State, Joel. It's at Penn State. Michigan at Penn State. What are you thinking about this game?
Michigan. Michigan doesn't lose.
I'm not into Penn State. I think they showed their true colors against Ohio State. Give me Michigan to win this game.
Yeah, I've said this for a while now. Penn State always seems to let you down. You get hyped up every year just to lose the biggest games. I think Michigan will win. I think it'll be a little closer because I think with all the cheating scandal stuff going out, like teams have a vendetta. But yeah, Michigan still wins easy.
3:30, Pac slate this week at 3:30. We'll start off in the Pac-12. Washington hosts Utah in a sneaky good game. Utah's trying to avenge their huge loss to Oregon 2 weeks ago. They blew out Arizona State this week. But it's at Washington. I think Washington got through a really big test with them last week, having an A+ Caleb Williams game and getting through it. So I'm going to take Washington in this game.
Yeah, I'll take Washington too. I think it's going to be scary though. I mean, Utah's defense is still really good. It's just their offense that concerns me. And I don't know if it's going to get them over the hump against Washington. So I think it'll be very close. I think it's going to be maybe dicey at times for Washington, but I still think regardless they come away with a win. You can't stop Tampa Bay zone. Michael panics.
Mm-hmm. It would be cool to see Utah win. I know people don't like Utah. Sorry,
That's
Colby.
it for the Pac-12 unless Oregon.
No. I'm not picking Utah.
Washington can get in with one loss, man. One loss Pac-12
but what
champion.
if Oregon beats them?
Well, then Oregon's getting in. One of those two is getting in.
I don't know, dude.
Oregon would for sure.
I am kind of sweating for the Seminoles a little bit.
Because Ohio State one loss, they put them in last year.
Dude,
they put them in last
I know,
year.
but the Pac-12 was not like this last year. The Pac-12 is the deepest and most ranked conference right now. One loss Pac-12 team. If they don't get in, it's a crime to the sport, and I will die on that hill.
I'm gonna go Utah, and I say that because when Washington beats Utah later in the season, it'll make them even cooler, and they might get picked for the playoffs.
What?
I think Washington plays Utah in a couple.
That's
weeks.
this week.
That's this week. Oh, I couldn't find it on my phone. I'm gonna go Washington then, obviously.
He's yapping over here.
I mean, I'm scrolling through here. I can't find any of the games we're talking about.
Well, Colby's got it.
Listen.
I'm a grandma. I was on the next week's stuff.
Yeah,
there
Colby's got it. He's got the
all right.
scores.
We got we have another fun SEC East game. Missouri is hosting Tennessee. Give me the Missouri Tigers. They have to prep for their Florida Gators loss in next week.
It's going to be tough for Missouri, though. Oh, man, I don't know, because you just don't know what Tennessee team's going to come out there.
Have we seen a really good Tennessee showing against a good team, though?
We haven't, but
Georgia was pretty good.
We haven't, but they just still can score a lot of points. I still give their offense some credit that they can do it. I think Missouri wins, but I think they might struggle a lot, actually. Tennessee's playing spoiler at this point, so
yeah. I mean, they're trying to make
a New Year's Six because they still relatively could.
They could.
I don't think they deserve it. Well,
they could. They have Missouri and Georgia left, so those wins could catapult them top 10 for New Year's Six for sure.
With Missouri being at home, I'd pick Missouri.
I think so too. I think that's going to be the key. Let me see. Ole Miss is going into Sanford Stadium, night game, to take on Georgia. Will Lane Kiffin get the biggest win of his tenure at Ole Miss?
Nope. Sorry, Lane Kiffin. You're a great coach when it's winnable games, but when it's teams that are ranked, you can't win, and you never do. I'd love for you to prove me wrong and beat Georgia because it'd just be fun to see, and it gives my Seminoles a little bit of a break, with in case they drop a game in the next two, not the last one, but or in the ACC championship. But yeah, it's not going to happen. Georgia wins, and I think Georgia kind of handles them. I'm
kind of
like
feeling
34-20 or something.
I'm kind of feeling like
scores.
Ole Miss might keep it close. I think Lane's got a couple tricks up his sleeve, but I'm going to take Georgia. But I think this Ole Miss team's a little bit different in that fact, and I think they're going to be able to keep it in striking distance and kind of make it a really good game. Wish it was at Ole Miss because I actually think I would take Ole Miss.
But I really expected Ole Miss to beat Alabama, and they played terrible.
That is true. But there's been a lot of high-scoring games from Ole Miss since then. But I agree.
I just think Lane Kiffin doesn't show up. He's got the Brian Kelly curse.
That's true.
You don't pick against Georgia, so you kind of just got to go Georgia.
For like half since the 2020s.
What's Georgia on? Like a 27 win streak or something?
It's crazy, man. And then
they probably aren't losing until the playoffs if they lose.
Yeah, You were hoping that Tennessee was going to be a more daunting game, but it doesn't look like that. Anyone want to take a TCU upset at home against Texas?
Nope.
Nah, me neither.
I'll take it, man. They got Jesus on their side.
You've been waiting for the Texas loss. Then hey, more fun, 10:30 late night Pac-12 football as we have USC going into Oregon. Can Caleb Williams will them to a victory? No. Oregon's going to win this game. I think USC is going to be deflated, and I think Oregon will beat them pretty handily
That's
this week.
where you're wrong, man. Caleb Williams is going to go to Wendy's. He's going to get a son of Baconator and a Frosty, and he is going to win this game.
All right. USC or Oregon?
I think Oregon, but I think it'll be kind of like last week. It might not be as close, but I think USC can still put up a lot of points. I know Oregon's defense is probably better than Washington's on paper, but I still think that you have to give USC's offense some credit.
I think that was USC's night, man. They squandered it. I think they're going to come out flatter this weekend. So, like we mentioned, real quick before we leave, I want you guys to each predict one team that's going to win the college basketball national championship. So, look through your notes. Look what you got. I'll give you breaking news. Number 4, Michigan State has already dropped a game. They lost to James Madison at home on the first night of the season.
They're mad about their brothers not being ranked in football.
So you got to love college basketball, man. So, Joel, do you need me to pull up the rankings for you? You got it. All right.
I'm gonna rhyme for you. Purdue, my dude.
All right. Purdue is going to break the curse, and Zach Edey's going to lead them to a national championship. That's not a bad pick.
I have to disagree with Joel. I think Yao Ming Jr., Zach Edey's not going to get it done. Purdue, they always look so good, and you want to write them down on your bracket at the end of the year, and then they lose first round to somebody named Farley Dickinson. I've never heard of them before. With that being said, I think, man, this might be Houston's year. Give me Houston.
I was looking at Houston. I want to take them, but I'm taking another fun team. I'm taking a team out of the Big East. The Big East is stacked right here. We have 3 Big East teams in the top 10. I'm not taking Marquette. I'm not taking UConn. I'm taking the Creighton Blue Jays. They're bringing their whole starting 5 back from last year. They were a good Sweet 16 team last year. They're going to just get better. They got a lot of good players. And I'm taking Creighton. But honestly, it's March Madness. We'll probably none of us.
We'll predict it again probably
knows?
in like
March. Hey, I'll sprinkle in some college basketball here every once in a while.
We'll probably have a TB3 Sunshine State Showdown trip at some point.
Oh yeah. We're gonna buy tickets soon. Don't you guys worry. We'll be
for
there.
basketball. We want to for football, but basketball
That's
too.
a week from Friday. We gotta get on it.
What day is that?
The 17th.
It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
No. Basketball. Basketball
Yeah,
is
I know
November
that.
17th.
Oh, sheesh. That's like
Seven
I
loaded,
might be
p.m.
out of town for a wedding.
loaded era.
No!
Uh-oh.
When's the next one? Because they play home and home, right?
No, only one game in basketball.
What?
Sorry, bro.
What is
Are you
wrong with
are
these
you in the
guys?
17th? I know they've gotten early and early. It used to be in December they played.
Maybe I'll get a morning flight on Saturday. No, that's still
I was about to say, man,
ridiculous.
it ain't worth it.
You could fly out of Gainesville.
We'll see. Maybe
I don't even know. If
maybe
you
I
can
get
do that.
uninvited or something, you know.
Yeah, just
You
don't
never
go.
know.
Just check the
Maybe
no
I don't
box.
go. Who schedules weddings during football and college basketball?
Really?
My
That's
parents.
true. Yeah. There you
I'm
go.
sorry. I just think in this day and age, in the CFP era, you can't schedule a wedding on Saturdays in the fall. Shame on anyone who does. I'm serious. If you're listening right now and you're thinking about having your wedding next September, one, I won't be going. And two, you're an idiot.
Push it to January.
Push it to January. There's a lot of smart people have it on January. Just make sure it's not on Sunday for wild card weekend or Monday night for the college football national championship or on like January 1st
Oh,
or
he's
on
on a
January 1st
tangent.
because don't
they
forget
play
about the New Year's
the
Six Bowls
Saturday
either.
football games for the playoffs?
No.
They don't.
The national
playoffs
championship's on Monday night.
Playoffs
Now,
are
that'd be
are they New Year's Eve or New Year's Day this week?
There's so many on. I think there might be
thought they
one on
played
no,
both.
when's
Saturday
the
playoff
playoff?
games.
Is it one on? No way. They're on the same day.
Oh,
I think it might be
sometimes
day.
it's sometimes early too. So nothing in New Year's Eve weekend or throughout the week. So yeah, January on a Friday or March through
All right.
July.
Okay, that's your wedding
it-
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't,
All right.
didn't expect that today, did you?
We're wrapping. We have prediction standings
It's
really
important.
quick.
It's important to talk about
It's a
that. 'cause
PSA.
I love sports and I don't like missing it. I really don't like missing sports.
That's what your
With
cell
that
phone's
being
for,
said,
man.
one thing I do like
You
is
can't
predictions.
go crotch mode at a wedding. That's unacceptable.
Oh,
But
I want okay if you schedule it. I'm like,
that's on them, honestly.
yeah, it's on you for scheduling it. Anyways, one thing I do like, I like predicting, and I like how close it's been because I didn't think it'd be like that. I thought somebody would just get lucky and just kind of be ahead, but we're neck and neck. Tied for second place now, two people, me and Colby with 45 points. And number one is Joel, but he's not that far ahead. He's only at 46.
He's ahead because he picked the Texans.
Because
Makes
he
me
picked the
six.
Texans. If he would have picked the Bucs
I
and went down with the ship like we
loaded up
did,
on the
we would
MLB
all be
division
tied.
winners.
We
Yeah.
would all be tied.
But that's your prediction standings. Thank you guys for listening.
But he picked against the Bucs, so
Yeah.
this might be the week we all tie it
this
up.
is this is the week the Bucs
Did you
win and
guys
Joel's
pick the
wrong.
Bucs?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I picked the
Oh, that was a
Bucs
bad
because
choice.
I'm a Jolly Roger and I ride with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, there we go. I think the only time I picked against the Bucs was the Bills game. However,
Yeah,
thank you
me
guys
too.
for listening. If you made it here, shout out
You
you.
are awesome.
Yep, we'll
We're
have
like 2 hours and like 50
yeah.
minutes in.
We'll
You're
have
the fan of the year.
You are the fan of the year. We'll have timestamps. We'll have all that good stuff. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Listen on YouTube. Listen on Spotify. And good night.
Yeah, we're going to end it with an outro. There's 4 games of lightning hockey this week. Make sure to watch it. This is the NHL on TNT.